Welcome to the Dogger Pass Podcast. I'm your host, Dan Tom, at Dan Tom MMA. And right here, right now, today, we are doing it live, as they say, for the Dogger Pass Podcast, which you can subscribe to. Hit the like, comment, hit your notifications, all that good stuff. We will get to it. And, feel free to contribute to the chat, which we will definitely be mentioning and implementing more in this show. But, of course, this is a breakdown show. We break down high-level MMA, or whether it's today, tonight, whenever you're listening to this, hopefully it's before the fight. And, of course, I always got to bring in the co-host with the mostest. And that's not just a saying. It is a fact, which we will get to with the receipts in tow. I got my guy at Mad Lab MMA. Mad Lab Mike, found at themadlabmma.com. What's up, Mike?
What's up, man? We're live. We're live. What a week, man. What a week we got. We got fights. We got football. We got, everything. All is right in the world, bro. How was your week off?
I've been busy in a different way, not so much, picking up with the other sports, which we'll get to with you because you're killing it at all fronts and working all fronts, my friend. I work a lot in the MMA, well, too much as it is. So I spent my week off just getting a bunch of stuff done. The hair is cut. So, like Dan Tom's ready to go. The longer the hair goes, the more insane I get, just like the longer these stretches goes. But you're right. Even if it's not a week off per se, it comes in handy, man. It really does. And you feel refreshed, recharged. Hopefully the audience feels refreshed and recharged, Mike, because we got some fun card to break down. It's been 2 weeks. There'll be some parallels with this card. The UFC is on the road for a fight night. Last time we saw you guys was the China card. I did terrible and continue my terrible streak. And I don't want to not take account for that. I just don't want to focus on the negative. So feel free to shit on me in the comments. Don't get too racist about it, or no hate speech or anything like that. But again, this is a place where we're here to break down fights and have fun. So feel free to bust my balls. I certainly deserve it. But let's move on to more positive stuff. My guy Mike's been killing it, man. I missed out. I swung. I whiffed. My guy's been hitting strikes, though, not just for last card. Honestly, we could just go and check the receipts literally back to when we took the steering wheel of this show. Man, I'm so glad I'm not the only one behind the wheel because we would have been crashed a long time ago. Mike, man, you've been killing it, man. I know you're not one to take your victory laps, which are you deserve to take way more than you do, by the way. But that's why I love Mike. He wins like he's been there before because he has been there before. And now you're killing it with football too. What do you got? What is all going on, man? I got to toss you your flowers and toss the spotlight to you, Mike.
I haven't really really had a week off like you. I haven't had a week off because obviously I'm excited for football. Don't get me wrong, but
sure,
there's the transition now. I'm blessed on many fronts to have such great guys working with me with football. I got about 6 guys with me that are just drilling content, and they understand I got to do the marketing, I got to set up the templates and stuff. So I got a great team behind me with football, but it's stressful, it's busy, but it's the best time of year, so I look forward to it. But yeah, with MMA, I mean, like I said, I'm not one to sit there and take victory laps because it's just pointless. You know what I mean? But we are doing well. I'm having a good run right now since we started the show. I think I'm up well over 20 units just from the start to now. We're running a promo this week. Well, kind of a promo, but basically we have something called the currency cartel. And basically what it is this is the football end of the deal. If you see the squad, we got 7 guys, including me, in the squad. We give you full DFS. Everybody gives you their own wagering blueprint. The Contrarian Corner by D-Rock, everybody loves. J-Mac is coming on to do a morning show live every Sunday morning in our private Discord. And all of this for a short, limited time is absolutely free with your MMA subscription. So we're going to have a really good year this year. It took me a couple years to really trim the fat and get a perfect team assembled. I feel like I got that team this year. So between the MMA and between boxing, with the big boxing fights coming up, and between football, we're looking to have a really, really fun, year, the whole traveling through the weekend. So I hope you guys come check us out. And other than that, let's get into this card.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I'm gonna be a little bit better about announcing stuff and promoting us going live. This was kind of it's not a spur of the moment idea because we've been talking about it both behind the scenes and publicly to you guys. So hopefully you enjoy that dynamic of the show. And again, if you want to get a bit more, especially of the winning side of things, Mike just hit you with the promo again. You rewind and pause and screenshot that bad boy if you want. Because I was just about to say, like, give me what you're smoking, give me what you're drinking, whatever the secret sauce is. But you're not a big smoker, you're not a big drinker, so I guess the best way is to join your little pirate ship there, my friend. And again, you've been killing it. I got no say. That's not my pirate ship, folks, or whatever. We are affiliated through the show. But aside from that, and he is my friend, but I'm being real here, man. And so I want to give credit where credit's due. And let's get to UFC Paris. UFC Fight Night, what is it, like 259 or 258 at this point? 258. It's going to be in the Accor Arena, which is the usual arena in Paris, France. It is big. I don't know how big, but it is much bigger. It sounds much bigger than it probably is because Paris, they definitely show up for their fighters, and similar dynamic to last week, guys, before we get bake into the analysis here. You get a lot of Chinese fighters for the China card going over to train to the States, right? We've got fighters in the main event who sometimes train in Sanford MMA, and these guys go to the States. Well, with the fights being in their hometown or closer to mainland Europe, a lot of these guys are staying on that side. So that is something to keep in mind here. But the card is headlined by a very, very good middleweight fight. I give the middleweights crap, but this is very relevant to the title picture. Of course, we've got Nassourdine Imavov versus Caio Borralho. Imavov, your underdog, plus 110. Borralho, minus 130. Now, the line is not too wide as it should be. We could argue which side is favored, and there's probably good arguments for both, considering that Borralho actually opened as the plus 110 underdog, and Imavov actually opened as the minus 130 favorite. Imavov, of course, will be fighting a southpaw here. He is technically, before I throw it to you, Mike, he is 2-0-1 against UFC level lefties. But he probably, and I'm a big Chris Curtis fan and defender than most, but let's be honest, before that no contest happened, which was what the Chris Curtis number is responsible for, he was doing well in that fight, both on the feet and the floor. So you could argue he should be 3-0 against UFC level lefties there. But Mike, before we get too into the minutia, I want to know your take, but right off the bat, which line do you agree with? Do you agree with the opener favoring Imavov, or do you agree with the adjusted line slightly favoring Borralho?
I can go either way. I think you can make an argument for both guys. And that's the one thing I wanted to say about this fight is that, I went back and forth with this fight about 3 times. Obviously you have to make a pick, and you go back and you look at your work and you see, well, what if he does this? And what if he does that? Or what if he doesn't do this? And what if he doesn't do that? So you can make an argument for me and tell me you think that Borralho should be the favorite. And I maybe agree. And then the other side can say Imavov, and I may agree. For me, the way I broke this down is, I think in this fight, the dynamic of 3 rounds to 5 rounds changes it drastically, literally changes it drastically, because I think that the ultimate, X factor in this fight is going to be who gets out quick and who can maintain their conditioning throughout the later stages of the fight, if it gets there. And I just when you look at these guys from a striking perspective, I'm looking at a guy in Imavov who he's the cleaner striker. He's the smarter striker. He understands range. He knows how to keep you at the other, the end of his punches. Everything is kind of crisp and have rhymes and reasons to them. Where Borralho, he tends to sometimes get caught up on his feet, although his striking is good. It's not as well thought out as Imavov, and he's very hittable. And some of the things that he does, makes me question him a little bit, especially the fight with Cannonier. Like, there was an easier path to win that fight for Caro, and he decided to stay on the feet and tag, play with Cannonier. And Cannonier was tagging him with shots. So he is very hittable. I think there is a clear path for Borralho if he kind of allows the fight to kind of come to him. Let Imavov come to him. Let Imavov, waste some of that energy. Be a little bit more defensively cautious. Don't allow him to get a big jump on you. But if he's the one pushing forward a little bit, make your reads, who you got to do. And ultimately, I think Caro's got to take this fight to the ground. He's got to really, really put it in his mind that that's going to be the ace in his pocket, this fight, not the striking. You're going to, go from hell and high water to try to ground this fight and control him there. But then on the other side, you see Imavov, he's got, a good clinch game. He's intelligent in the cage as well. I just feel like in this fight that the line flipped the wrong way. I think that Imavov should be the favorite. the slight favorite. I do think he's going to jump out to an early lead. My only concern with this fight is his conditioning. It's questionable. I mean, in some fights he showed it's gotten better, but it still is there. Once it rears its head, once like a fault rears its head, it's hard to erase it from your mind because you think it's always there. So I do think that's an issue for me if this becomes a high-paced fight going into the 4th and 5th round. Like, what is he going to have left? And if Caio can steal some of those takedowns, steal some of those rounds, you might be looking at he stole the fight down the stretch. But I don't see that. I think that Imavov is kind of slowly fine-tuning his game, fixing these little holes that he has seen in the past, and incrementally getting better. I think in order to beat Imavov, you need to have a really good, strategic style of striking. And like, even if you look at the Sean Strickland fight, like, it's just his style, the way he fights, the way he's able to kind of capitalize you, keep you at bay with his jab and stuff like that. Like, those are the little things that I just don't see Borralho being able to do for the duration of 5 rounds. So I think this is Imavov's fight to win, but I think his conditioning and his takedown defense and his ability to keep this into a flow state on his terms is going to dictate how this fight goes. So I'm going to take the upset here. I'm going to take Imavov.
All right. Interesting. Now, I agree with a lot of what you said, not to surprise or bore the audience there, but I want to cross off what we agree on, whether we, and not so much disagree. You might even agree on me on certain points, but kind of color in certain areas where I feel it might be different, because we both agree with each other as far as, okay, the line, you could make an argument for either side. And with the way the market moved, you could also make that argument. And I don't disagree. You got the bigger strength of schedule, slightly more impressive off first glance on paper. Imavov fighting at home, more main event spots, right? So yeah, him opening as a favorite, no issue. Slight favorite, no issue. My only issue is that as a spoiler alert, as a Borralho backer here, I was just bummed I missed the dog line on him, right? But again, as a Borralho backer, I'm guessing a lot of people maybe came to this similar conclusions, that I did. And to be fair, even though you're officially siding with Imavov, although you're totally crediting both sides, I don't know. I feel like Borralho, could be favored, because I feel like you're right as far as if he gets on the ground. We'll talk about this later with some of these, especially these European fighters, and not to go to the stereotyping and the old race science, right? But again, parallels to last week with these Chinese fighters, right? These more, you could argue, oh, Europe above China. No, maybe China's a little above Europe or whatever. Like, you could split hairs there. The fact is, a lot of these markets are at the very least second tier developing markets still, right? Where it's like, you could see guys where it's like, oh, they might have good jiu-jitsu, but their wrestling really gets tested, right? Once they get over to the state. We see that with the Cage Warriors guys all the time, right? We get those Cage Warriors guys where they're real jiu-jitsu heavy. Paddy Pimblett's been like the exception with all the privilege that's been in his path, granted as a caveat. But you do these things, you do see these things even at the air quotes higher level, right? Even with that Cage Warrior, the UFC pipeline. And with Imavov, as good as he is on the ground and in the clinch, and he's got wrestling from the clinch. He can make shots in the open. He can take the back fairly well for a middleweight. He's got the air quote Dagestani a game that he shows glimpses of, and quite regularly in his game. But when he's on bottom, not so great, and we could say that with Borralho too, considering he has more credentials there and he's kind of played it somewhat conservative. But yeah, Imavov, when he's on bottom, it's a completely different game. Brandon Allen is one of the better top game players and wasn't able to finish him, but he showed he was able to control him and just didn't do enough damage, and Brandon Allen, that was kind of a weird caveat fight. He had the blood test. He's kind of not the most consistent fighter. I think he also had some personal and injury stuff. It was one of those weird sample sizes, which he had 2 of, because then he goes and fights Fluffy, where he's the healthy one and Fluffy isn't, Hernandez, and then Fluffy shows out in the last fight. So again, you gotta be careful about these sample sizes, folks. But here's, I guess, where I differ a bit. I feel like if this gets stuck on the feet, which I feel like it will for a lot of the portion, I do feel like Borralho has a good game there. I really like his southpaw building game. He builds a lot off the front teep and rear hip feint, which I like because if you build off that, you can go, am I front teeping? Am I rear hip feinting? Am I kneeing? Am I tie kicking? And if I'm tie kicking, is it going to the body? Is it coming up to the head? Is it look like it's going up to the body and it's flipping up to the head? Question mark kick. Am I showing the knee and stepping down with the cross? Am I throwing the kick and counterbalancing with the cross? Am I throwing the kick to the body and counterbalancing the cross with the head? This is what they refer to as the southpaw double attack, right? You are basically making your opponent guess between head and body, punch and kick. That's the basic breakdown of the southpaw double attack: head and body, punch and kick. And now when you have not just head and body, you have knees, front kicks, tie kicks, punches, different combinations of so, and you actually know how to feint, right? He's really kind of taken to that Alexander Volkanovski city kickboxing school of feints approach. It's a really solid approach. So he's staying busy and pitter patter, and yeah, he might be able to with heavy hitters like Cannonier, and this goes for Ohio as well, can make the fight a little bit closer, right? When you're going volume versus power punching. But that process, that double attack process, sets up the bigger shots down the path to where Cannonier, who is a guy who is proven to, I remember, Mike, I'm like, I'm going to pick Cannonier, but I'm not going to bet him because he's old against Imavov. But I'll tell you what, if I get anything from minus 135 or lower, and Imavov's, it's kind of competitive, but there's an argument that Cannonier's either 1-2 or even 2-1, I'm going to fire. And what did we get? We got that exact scenario. I got that exact line, and I fired. And of course, again, folks, like I said, name a controversial stoppage or scorecard, put it in the comments. I'll tell you what side I landed on. Chances are old Dan Tom here swung and a miss. And we got that controversial stoppage from my guy, Jason Herzog, right? And people were like, he was going to win anyways. And I was like, listen, I'm not going to cry too much over it, but you got to know that Cannonier is a guy who traditionally does well over time. And, he comes back from things. He showed so before, and he even showed so after that fight to prove my point against Hobo Cop Rodriguez, right? And even though he made it close and was able to mess up Ohio's eye, I'm rounding back to the fight here. I'm not crying over spilled milk. This has relevance to the fight we're breaking down, folks. If you look at it, Cannonier was doing something that Imavov doesn't. We talk about southpaw versus southpaw. It really messes things up. And Cannonier can actually fight southpaw. And if you look in that fight, that's how he was able to mess his eye up. Most of it was going from a southpaw stance, something that Imavov doesn't do. So the fact that he was able to take those shots doesn't bother me. It actually looks impressive to Ohio that he was able to take those shots and actually mount on a guy who traditionally does well in those rounds. Whereas, like you said, Mike, Imavov traditionally fades. He showed improved cardio in some fights, but to your point, I think the grappling will make him. What's up? We got Ghost Phantom in the chat. My guy, Phantom Punch Breakdowns. Possible future moderator in the chat too as well. Go check out his stuff, Phantom Punch Breakdowns, over on Substack. He posted something really interesting too about punishing the switch stance, which shows that Imavov is a smart guy. I know I'm talking long here, folks, but I'm just going to bounce back by basically saying both these guys are really smart fighters. Imavov punishing the stance twist by Adesanya. Rory McDonald versus Tarek Saffiedine used to be my classic example. McDonald jabbing every time Saffiedine switch stances. Real classic tactics. But Ohio, man, Mike, I don't know if there's any smarter fighter that has earned my respect with their intelligence. Listen to this guy talk and break down fighters. I trust that Ohio is going to come in with a good game plan. And even if he doesn't get to his win conditions on the ground, I still think he can win on the feet and keep Imavov busy enough on the feet to possibly pull away down the stretch. So I'm going to go Caio Borralho here. Even though I missed the dog money, I said if I can still get minus 125 out of what a majority looks like minus 135 at the time of the show, I'll pull the trigger. And I saw that. I don't know if I'm going to be fully playing. I'm still bank building, so I'm still going to probably throw a round robin out there for you guys. This won't be in it. But as far as plays go, Ohio minus 125, 1.25 units for me. I'm going to keep it small and hopefully sharp. But we'll see. You could argue the value is on the other side, Mike. But we're on opposites on this one, buddy.
Yeah. I'll break out a little predict the scope here, and I'll just say this is where I feel like it's going to go.
Okay.
I think that Imavov's going to take an early gate in this fight. He's going to start losing traction down the stretch, but ultimately it's not going to be enough, and Imavov's going to pull out a decision. That's going to be my prediction.
You know what? That's going to be my prediction for a lot of these fights. And like this one, I feel like there's too much potential on either side. For even though I see it going the distance, I wouldn't be surprised if there's a shutout or a finish. So I'll probably stay away from the split decision prop. But I do feel like there's a lot of split decision props that'll be live.
Yeah, there's a lot.
To your
There's
point.
A lot.
Yeah. So sorry for the little longer breakdown on that one, folks. These are obviously, this could be the potential next title challenger we're breaking down here. So I really want to give these guys their respect. Lazy Bet in the house. What's up? But let's move on to the co-main event there. Co-main event in the house. We got another Brazil, Fighting Nerds Brazil versus a hometown French team, although they're part of different teams. We got, of course, Benoît Saint-Denis versus Mauricio Ruffy. Will Ruffy another fighter? We'll see. He is minus 190 favorite to Ruffy somebody. We got plus 160 on the comeback for your underdog, BSD, Benoît Saint-Denis. So apologies, folks. I missed to touch on the overs and unders in the last fight, but the total 1.5 here, minus 160, over 1.5, minus 165, under 1.5, plus 145. Kind of surprises me, but at the same time, they did set it at 1.5, which regardless of what numbers they put, which I think should be a little tighter personally, you're still having to choose Parker at the end of the day, to quote the great Willem Dafoe. Now, are you on the hype train, Mauricio Ruffy, before I throw it to you? 0-0 against UFC level lefties. So we haven't seen him against a lot of UFC level lefties. However, a lot of southpaw tactics, a lot of southpaw fighters, a lot of good southpaw, anti-southpaw tactics shown from the Fighting Nerds, their gym, their stable, whether you got the Locos Ohio or transplant guys like Oleg Sejik coming in to work with him for that southpaw stance. And of course, coming off of it, not as impressive as it should have been. You nailed that prediction, by the way. It was always Benoît Saint-Denis round 2, like you called to the dot, Mike. However, even my most terrible picks where you're like, Dan's just going for, even when I admit, like, okay, I'm just going for a big dog for the value, or I need dogs, which I hate because you should never make a pick based on that, which to my defense, I don't, because again, to my defense, even in my worst picks, pre-flop, post-flop, there is something to minority analysis, right? Like we did see BSD look like absolute trash on the feet, and Prepelec, even if you guys were on BSD, you got to admit, did better than you expected. So again, even wild, stupid, whiffing Dan Tom here, there is a method to the madness for whatever that's worth. But I'm going to throw it to you, Mike. What do you got for this fight?
Yeah, man. You know, it's crazy because the one thing I will say about BSD is I've been able to navigate his career pretty well.
Nice.
You know, and if you look at the dynamics of this fight, it's pretty interesting, right? Because when BSD first came out, like he was in the position with that Ruffy's in now. Like everybody loved BSD. I mean, think about people were picking him against Dustin Poirier. You know what I mean? Like just not too long ago. You know what I mean? So he was in that spot. He was in that, Jesus, this guy's gonna be the next champion type of deal. And I just didn't see it. Like I was like, listen, I like the guy, but there's something to be said about having that cage experience, knowing when you're in those situations that you were tested, you know, you can go through the fire, you know, ways to get out, you know, these little trap doors that you need to get to, which Dustin Poirier knew. And that's what happened. Like Dustin Poirier was getting beaten, you know, in the opening minutes of that fight. But then the experience, the championship medal, that goal comes out and he's like, I've been through this before. I know where the trap doors are. And he comes back and he wins the fight. So how people were all over BSD in that fight, I was kind of shocked. But also it's like casual corner, like a lot of guys do that. So now we're in a situation where people are a little bit more down on BSD. They're saying he took a lot of punishment, and you know he's, maybe he's not the same guy, and whatever the case may be. So now Ruffy's in this position now where they're looking at him, and now people are saying he's got that Conor McGregor-esque style where he's very in and out, and he's just like kind of stabbing at you, and he needs his space, and he, dictates range really well, and he catches you at the end of his punches, and all that's fine and good. But when you look at the level of competition that he's fought, I mean, if you look, okay, he beat Bobby Green, right? Bobby Green, obviously, we know isn't really Bobby Green anymore, but he's got that fluid style where he also wants to stay away. He wants to kind of dictate the terms. He wants to utilize the real estate of the cage. He wants to, hit you from certain angles and just stay moving. He fought James Lontop, but just a plotting fighter who his best attribute is his durability. And then he fought, who was it? Malarkey, who tough Irish kid, okay, but it's not an athletic guy, not super explosive. And that didn't really age well because look at it, his career kind of went down. That's like his three, commodities right there. That's his three claims to fame right there. Then you go to the other side and you look at BSD. Yes, he does take punishment. Yes, he is chaotic. Yes, Maybe his striking isn't as tied together as Ruffy's is, as seamless, as pretty to watch. But he's been there, and he's been there against very, very high level opposition. We know he could take damage. We know that this guy is going to jump into the fire. We know he's an exciting fighter. Like, we know all these things. This is a win-win for the UFC, whoever wins this fight. Like, this isn't something where they're like, oh, please, Ruffy, you got to win this fight. We don't want BSD is a crowd favorite. He's fun. He's action-packed. He's got good Brazilian jiu-jitsu. He's got, he'll jump into a phone booth with you. He'll get filthy. These are the fighters that we like, so like it's a win-win for them either way. The way I'm looking at this fight is, and I'm on a little run right here, and this is the one where I'm going to try to keep it going. 2 weeks ago, I gave you Alexander Hernandez. He won. The week after that, which was the last fight, I gave you Daukaus. He won. This week, I'm giving you BSD. I think BSD's chaos. I think the way he charges the pocket. I think the way he's not going to give Ruffy that space and that room to really breathe. My man, he agrees with me. Bro, he agrees with me. Your dog agrees with me. So I don't think he's going to give him that space. I don't think he's going to give him that space. He's not going to give him that time to get into that rhythmatic tempo that, like, those Conor McGregor style fighters need, where they're open and they're just kind of getting into a rhythm and they're stabbing you and they're getting their timing down. I don't think he's going to allow that to happen. And we haven't seen him fight somebody that did that to him to the point where, okay, now you got to figure it out. Let's see if he could figure it out. Let's see if he could figure out the pressure. Get me off you. Keep me away from you enough where you can dictate that time. Can he catch him coming in like McGregor did to Aldo? Sure. But I'm not going to bank on that. Like, give me the guy who fought the better level of opposition. Give me the guy that's going to bring chaos, that's going to bring war. And if he loses, he loses. But if you're giving me a decently sized dog price tag on it, give me BSD at home and the crowd goes wild.
Wow. If that's not enough of a lock for you guys, I'll tell you what's going to lock it in even more. I'm picking Ruffy.
Come on.
I'll tell you what's going to lock it even more. Is that when I talk about my luck when it comes, my luck's terrible anyways, in and out of the game, but my luck when it comes to particularly when I'm Steve Buscemi and I go, hello, fellow kids, and when it's my turn to bet the unders, when it's my turn to make the easy money on the hype guy, whenever I bet those sides, holy shit, do I fucking jinx them, right, Mike? And I love durable southpaws who can grapple. Who is that in this fight? I usually fade opportunists who get by on waiting for the single moment, especially in today's scoring criteria and out of principle. Who's that opportunist? And again, all the signs are lining up here. So where you guys, if you're not already halfway out your door, going to empty your bank account on BSD, I don't know what you're doing.
No, don't tell him that.
Well, listen. Okay, you know why? Don't actually. Here's why you shouldn't. Because even though I'm picking Ruffy, and even though I'm considering him in a 2-leg parlay, which I'll give out with another leg here, which again, all these things should be cursing it enough. Like, what Mike's side alone should make you like a BSD win, right? My side alone should make you like a BSD win for different reasons, obviously. But here's why maybe you shouldn't. And why I sounded really iffy. And I mentioned this last week because I went with not last week, but the week before. Again, I'm in bank building mode, and it sucks, right? Like, people got to see what I was saying, where they're like, people, like, some people were commenting, and this wasn't a bad comment. This was completely fair and spot on. In fact, it proves my point. In fact, they're like, why are you putting 0.35 units on Sumaderji or whatever, your one winning bet or whatever it was last week, right? Which by the way, I think that's when Mike's killing it, but for whatever reason, I keep winning these shot bets. We went double or nothing. You went double or nothing with me last week. And I got one from you again somehow, which doesn't matter because I'm whiffing on the stuff that matters. And Mike's like literally hitting on everything that matters. And that kind of makes this funny, right, Mike? Because again, if you were to look at the shot bet record, you're like, oh, who's losing the shot bets? And you look at our betting records, you're like, okay, Dan Tom's losing like 11 out of 10 of these. And I've been winning most of them somehow, which is hilarious, right?
Yeah, well, that's what happened, bro. I told you that like 6 months ago that I would go like 11 for 13 on a fucking card, and the 2 fights that I got wrong were the ones I was betting.
Right. Yes. Yeah, exactly. That was classic, right? So I definitely felt it, right? It didn't make sense. And even if I won, it would have not made me much money and probably would have pissed me off more, right? Because it's like, oh, I swept the board or came close to it, and I didn't even put real money on. I was like a little bitsy money, right? So I was thinking about saving up for next week, the Noche card or even the pay-per-view before that, and just building my bank up, taking small shots. But I was thinking about putting a faux. That's why I'm not even committed to the round robin. I'm still going to throw it out for entertainment purposes. But part of me was thinking, I'm like, maybe I just don't even do any like tracked real bets as far as anything tracked or anything like that. But I just throw out like some faux bets for entertainment purposes, and say that ahead of time, but here's the annoying thing here, folks, is that you guys are all going to go and fade me. And what's going to happen is if I throw faux bets, right, I don't actually bet these things, they're all going to hit and you guys are going to get burned, right? And I will ironically be the most upset and most burned because like, Dan, you won. It's like, no, that's the ultimate fuck you from the universe is they're letting me win and finally giving me that big night I've been waiting 2.5 years for at this point, 2 years for at this point to get nothing, right? So basically irony there. So yeah, folks. And then we got Brownie's barking. Brownie, she started barking up for Mike. Like, yeah, man, I feel like this could be a real y'all must have forgot. However, even though I was stupidly wrong on picking against BSD and prior, I was like, Mike, I navigated beautifully. I had that Dustin Poirier call. It was one of my more prouder calls, a few that I could claim that year. I don't know, man. I still fading him for a reason, man. And I just didn't like the way he looked on the feet there against Prepolek. And I know that's a fellow southpaw, and Ruffy isn't a southpaw, but Ruffy has just a style to really sting him and capitalize on the openings. I really like Ruffy's counter wrestling defense, even though we hasn't seen too much of it. Like again, it's where's his head at? Is he doing the right things with his hoisting overhooks and whizzers, underhooks? Is he covering the head at the right times? He's constantly spinning out to the center, which is going to have the big cage to operate. Smaller cage, I definitely would probably lean more toward BSD, but the bigger cage, even at hometown France, give me Ruffy, folks. Jokes aside, Jinx jokes aside, which aren't really jokes because, again, there's probably some truth there. I am going to go Ruffy. So the question is, Dan, are you betting for real or not? Which I'm probably not going to this week, so makes it even trickier.
Yeah,
hey, should this be a shot bet though? Should this be the shot bet one, or do we want to wait to the end there? We'll wait to the end.
Well, we're on the other side of both of them so far. So let's see how the rest of the card goes.
Yeah, let's see how the rest of the card goes. This is a rarity, folks.
Maybe we'll really get fucking wasted, and we'll just have a shot bet for everyone we disagree on.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my gosh, right? Jesus, yeah. We'll see there. All right, next fight we got Modestas Bukauskas. The Lithuanian love child against Paul Craig. Nothing can outrun a Greece Scotsman. Greece, me woman. Minus 370 for Bukauskas. Comeback on the greased up Scotsman Craig plus 280. Total another 1.5. Odds makers don't know where to go so much. They got minus 135 for going over 1.5, which I don't hate actually. Under 1.5 plus 115. This is a fight where it feels trappish, even though I don't disagree with who is favored here. That over, as I'm speaking out loud, that actually looks like the most attractive party or the most attractive person in this party for me, Mike. But where do you land on this one? I know I'm already kind of giving the pussy answer of saying favorite, but I don't really trust the line. Dog could be live. But how do you feel about this one, Mike?
Yeah, man. Anytime Paul Craig fights, you got to be careful, right? I mean, he is what he is. This is what he does. The guy is a guy. He comes in. He's striking is pedestrian at best. Very, very hittable. Wrestling's really not all that good, but if you want to play that Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu game with him, I mean, it's I don't care what the line is. This guy can fucking catch a limb. I mean, it's just what he does. I mean, he's done it numerous times. We've seen him. But as the time progresses, it's like anything else, bro. It's like when a new quarterback comes in to play football. Now that we're in football season, I like to use this analogy. And the defensive coordinators really don't know how to make a read on you. You can burn them. I mean, look what happened. It happened with Colin Kaepernick with the 49ers. Like, he came out of nowhere. He was running like a deer against teams, running for 80 yards, 90 yards, throwing the ball. Like, it took defensive coordinators time to kind of figure him out. You know what I mean? And then he got figured out. And it happens with a lot of sports. Like, you need time. And it's the same thing with Craig. Like, you just need to figure out what he does, how to stay away from it, and how to capitalize. And it's showing now. I mean, this guy's dropping to his back at times, doing like Ryan Hall's, trying to pull guard. And I think Bukauskas is a guy who, believe it or not, I think he's actually pretty good. I think he's a little underrated, but he just doesn't show his potential in every fight. The line, I could see him coming out looking like a minus 500 in this fight, but he's got to mind his P's and Q's. Like, he really has to mind his P's and Q's. He can't really, go in there reckless, exposing himself in any way, putting himself in a bad position, trying to, have a dick measuring contest and maybe taking it to the ground. Like, he has to just stick to a path and say, this is where I have to be and this is where I'm going to stay. And if he does that, I think he looks like a minus 370 and he wins the fight. But anytime Paul Craig fights, you got to beware of the unknown. So I'm going to go with Bukauskas, but it's not without any caution.
Yeah, I will say this, though. If the over does happen, I feel like a dick measuring contest would actually be more of an entertaining watch. Maybe not for some of us, but, I don't want to speak for everybody. But, but the flip side of that coin is you're absolutely right. The flip side of that coin is Bukauskas, who's been trending upwards, whereas Craig has been trending downwards, which alone kind of makes volatility a bit, right? Because, again, even if you don't disagree with who the pick is or the favorite is here, even if that's not a head scratcher, again, the volatility, when you're trying to get cute with overs, unders, finishes, not finishes, is guys can drop off a cliff, guys can exceed expectations. They can do both at the same time, and that can really kind of scramble your pinpoint reads, not necessarily a side. So I'll probably stay off that over because, again, you got Bukauskas doing better. And Craig, not that I picked him and not that I had expectations for him against that Bo Nickel fight. Again, I faded Bo Nickel against RDR for some good monies, folks. That being said, that Bo Nickel defeat, as boring and as little as you should take away from a striking match that they had for 3 rounds, boy, does it even look worse somehow, does it kind of aged worse somehow, so yeah, man, I'll probably stay off that, even though that got me a little excited. Just seemed like a playable chalk there. I like overs better than unders, but yeah, with that whole trajectory angle, that kind of throws me off that scent. And this is a fight that, I'll stick to my initial scent, which is pick the favorite and avoid.
Yeah.
Let's go to the next fight. Bolaji Oki versus Mason Jones. Very interested in this fight. I've been a big Mason Jones fan. Mason Jones, by the way, is your favorite, minus 140. Opened a little wider, but money has come in on Bolaji Oki, who still sits as your underdog with a comeback on him at plus 120. Totals for this fight, we're back up to 2.5 rounds. Over 2.5 rounds, minus 170, under plus 150. I agree with those. I do think that the finish, does deserve respect on all sides. This could be, again, another fight where, I liked not as much as from Ruffy, right? But I did look for similar things with what I could find from Oki samples as far as takedown defense. I think that's going to be a huge crux of this fight. Mason Jones has always had those skills. The question is, will his reckless ass use his ground skills, grappling and judoka base, or will he get into firefights that he's known for? And he doesn't wear damage very well. Very similar to that Denis dynamic, right? He's durable, but he doesn't take damage well. He's durable as shit, but you're always worried about him getting knocked out because of how he fights, right? Very similar to BSD. And again, the other side here with Oki is, even though he's like Ruffy and he shows, really good kick countering kicks, by the way. And I was like, wow, Losene and Keita also good at countering kicks, and they're both black dudes from Belgium. So I'm like, maybe if I stereotype things, they train at the same gym. They do not, but we'll get to Keita, but they actually have very similar sensibilities and styles, which is crazy. They counter kicks really well, which could be troublesome for Jones, because Jones when he has gotten in trouble striking, it's usually been in boxing range. So he's incorporated a lot more kicks throughout his years, and that's really baked into a style, which is smart, especially in his last fight against Stevens. Spend the first round kicking those arms, kicking at him, staying at a safer range than that boxing range, where a guy like Oki or a guy like Stevens can probably do a little more damage than you can, right? But again, Oki's going to have those kick counters. Again, not as good as Ruffy, but he does show a lot of those things you like to see, the turning, the steering, the certain fundamentals. That being said, it's not as good, and I suspect it's even less good once you get to the ground. We haven't gotten to see Ruffy's jiu-jitsu level, right? But as far as Oki's, well, he seems a little bit lost in those transitions. And I'm not talking about that crazy guillotine that he got against Chris Duncan, who, again, the reason why I picked Duncan, folks, to upset Rebecca like I did a few weeks ago, it's because he's better than he seems, right? So perhaps that doesn't age as poorly now that Duncan's getting respect. And when you go back to watch that fight, Oki was actually doing really good in that fight until getting guillotined, right? That's not necessarily what I'm talking about. It's been in other fights, like the Timmy Kwama fight, which granted was, before that. And at this point, a little over a year ago, it's still relevant, but, fighters can still get better, especially at Oki's age. So I'm not trying to write with hard ink set in stone here, folks. That being said, what is the evidence we have seen in those positions? Well, he does seem to get a little lost down there, make some bad decisions, even from positive positions, find himself in negative positions, which will be very dangerous against a guy like Mason Jones, who, the analog to this fight, a fight that I was on Mason Jones, but boy, was I clenching my butt cheeks, Mike, against David Onama. No, that's not just doing that for race science or whatever. You actually look at them stylistically to their threats. You get a very similar thing here. The question is, how raw is Oki, and what's his ceiling like? I get at maybe plus 165 as opener, Mike, people taking a shot on Oki. I don't hate that. I feel like there's much less meat on the bone at plus 120. And it makes me start wanting to look at the Mason Jones side, even though I initially was thinking about staying away from this fight. But regardless of if I bet the fight or not, I would say that this is another fight that's perfect for the split decision prop that we were talking about, Mike, where the dog's live, not sure if he's live enough to upset, right? Borralho's live, not sure if he's live enough to upset, like you said, right? We're in a foreign regional market where you're going to have local judges mixed with the UFC traveling judges. And there's already been criteria directives that we're already seeing playing out, proving points that I continue to scream and get proved right on to no credit because it doesn't make you any money. But yes, these are things we need to be aware of, folks. So split decision in the round robin. And if it gets like minus 120 on the Mason Jones side, I feel like I got to fire on him out of principle there, faux bets or not, untracked or not. Mike, what do you think? I know it's long-winded, but I had a lot to say on that one.
No, yeah, this is, believe it or not, this is the first fight I put a bet on. I put a bet on Mason Jones. It was the first one I hit the window with. When you look at Oki, first of all, on the Mason Jones side, if you look at the track record of some of these guys, like he was one of the guys that I don't feel should have been left the UFC. Like 100. It's happened, right? You got Dalby who did it, but look how Dalby came back. When Dalby came back, he looked really good. You had Brendan Moreno who did it. Brendan Moreno left. He made some adjustments. He came back. He ended up winning the title. So it's like some of these guys, you kind of raise your eyebrow, like why? Like I get it, like guys like Brian Battle and stuff who are missing weight. He should have been gone. I don't care what anyone says. I know people were fighting for him to stay. There's no way that guy should have stayed. That's a reprimanding thing. Like you got to be disciplined. This is a part of your job. The fun part is fighting. The work is the camp, the weight cut, all that stuff. That's the work. That's the behind the scenes work, almost like in a restaurant. When you're going out and you're buying fish and you're buying liquor, and then that Saturday night when you're dressed up and you're on the floor, that's not fucking working. That's playtime. So this is the reward when you fight. The work wasn't getting done. So Mason Jones is in a position now where, okay, he ends up coming back. He probably fixed some holes. He did some reflection. You understand that the life inside the dance isn't a lock. Like you can be exiled at any time and maybe never get a shot again. So I think with his style, does he not wear damage well? Like you said, 1000%. But when you look at him from a technical aspect, he has all the tools to be a really good fighter, and he is experienced. He does have a lot of cage time. It doesn't all have to be UFC cage time, but he does have high level cage time. When you look at Oki on his side, is he the better athlete? Yes. Is he the fresher fighter? Yes. Does he have a lot more snappier ability and explosion? Yes, but he's very, very raw. So to me in this fight, I think on the onset, as this fight starts, he's going to look good. He might even look like the faster fighter. He's going to look explosive. He's going to be moving well. But I think as the fight starts growing older, I think just Mason Jones is going to start wearing on him and wearing on him and wearing on him. And I think that's when you're going to start seeing a clear differential in like, all right, this is experience to a guy who has a lot of upside, a lot of potential, but he's just not ready for that Mason Jones step up yet. So I took Mason Jones early.
I like that. I'm not sure what number you got on him, and I'm not going to number shame because, again, anything around minus 150 is playable chalk. So if you believe in him and have the points as far as receipts go to back it up, like we've brought up for the Mason Jones side, honestly, you could play it anything around minus 150. And I know I said minus 125 because I was wishful thinking, and that would require waiting because the lowest listed line is minus 138. But sometimes you can go to certain places, which, By the way, sponsorships for the show, folks. Let's go. I'm not going to shout you out for free, but Schmet Schmon Schmine might have it for minus 135, and minus 135 I think is a really good price for Mason Jones. No.
Yeah.
I think that's a safer place to invest a little just north of a unit, because I would probably go 1.35 for a unit return on that, than putting a unit on a two-legger involving Ruffy, which, by the way, if you want to play Ruffy, just, you might lose out because he could get a early knockout live, but Ruffy gets a lot of late finishes. Sorry to kind of jump around there. Maybe I just throw Ruffy round 3 in a round robin and save myself the exposure on that, right? And just look to jump in live in case it's like it's one of the, because I think Mike only averages he's only been getting like maybe one play wrong a fight, a card. So maybe that's the maybe that's the one play Mike's wrong on, and you can jump in live if it's not looking, or if you are on BSD ahead of time like Mike, the good thing about that bet is he's a guy you can buy out on because he's durable enough to where if he loses, he'll give you time to live bet your way out. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, the thing with that though, with the BSD is like, this is my opinion. If he ends up winning this fight, and if you're waiting to bet him live, the chances are he's going to win that first round, and that line's going to flip on a live line for BSD. Like you know what I mean? Because he's not the guy who's going to come from the depths of hell and come back. He's a guy that's going to put it on you early. He's going to knock your energy bar down. And so I think that, like, if he's coming in at a plus 160 at closing time, I think you could see minus 115 on both. Like, you could see even money going into the second round. You know what I mean? So that's why I think the value probably is to hit him early. If you're going to hit him.
Very true. Very true. And I'm just thinking out loud. What's up, folks? We got my guy Luke in the house, sparring with reality. I love that guy. BG MMA plays. Oh, MMA plays in the house. What is up? We usually see you in the comment section. Love seeing you show out for the show. Make sure you guys hit that like button, comment, share it out. Huh?
Where do you see the comment?
It shows up on the right side here of my restream little window.
Oh, there they are.
Working with. Yeah.
I didn't say hello to you. Who's this? Look at that. What up, Dan? Let's go. Damn, Cody turn. Thomas Kent. Fuck is Thomas Kent? Hey, yo, bro, you know what's funny? You know what I was thinking about now that I just said that? Thomas Kent. You ever see the movie Real Genius?
Yeah. Oh, I love Real Genius. Classic. Yeah.
Remember Kent?
Yes.
Stop playing with yourself, Kent. It's God.
Stop
playing with yourself, Thomas Kent.
Oh, I love it, folks. It's a pre-90s reference, and it wasn't by me for once. Would you look at that? Thank you. That's another reason why I love co-hosting.
It's God,
my guy Mike here. Like, and you're bringing me back, dude. I grew up with that. I grew up with that movie. Touching yourself. Let's go to the next fight. You're sending me on the direction. Let's go to the next fight now. That's gonna send me on another direction. I love it. We got Alex Sola versus Rhys McKee. Of course, Alex Sola is we've been getting, whether it's Contender Series this week or this UFC Paris, we're getting a lot of like regional standouts, regional prospects, regional champs. Rhys McKee,
look at his lips.
Apparently he I don't know.
That's lipstick on his fucking lips.
Yeah, the only reason why you should have lipstick on your lips is if you're fighting Jailton Almeida, because from what I hear, the jail man prefers it if you put lipstick on, but that's a whole nother topic if we're talking about it. Rhys McKee, though, is your underdog at plus 115. I don't know if it's the lipstick or not, but minus 135 for Alex Sola. I looked at this opener before, and clearly I'm still having to double check myself. Not only did this line not flip, not that I would have think Rhys McKee would have been a big favorite or anything, or he should be, by the way. I'm picking Alex Sola. Spoiler alert. But I was a little surprised that Alex Sola opened at a minus 165 favorite. Again, even with these newcomers that I like and that I'm picking, there is some reservation, which we'll talk about more with guys that I'm even more hyped about, along with others that are coming onto this card, right? So I don't disagree that he's the favorite. Sola's got a real smooth southpaw style. We haven't seen his grappling tested at the top levels. That will get figured out shortly enough. I don't think Rhys McKee will be that guy, although Rhys McKee is easy to root for because he's been put in such tough matchups. It was nice to see him against that win against Daniel Frunze, but again, we still don't know a lot about Daniel Frunze, right? He wasn't even a guy where it's like, oh, he came over from Bellator like Pico and then shits the bed, or Patchy Mix or whatever examples. Like, he wasn't even as proven as those guys, right? So what does that one really tell us? And that was a kind of a two-way firefight, if memory serves, from rewatching that one anyways. So yeah, like I like the newcomer Sola's here, but we still haven't seen him, and I'm not sure we'll get that answer after this fight against higher level competition. And as far as McKee goes, even though he's much more experienced, he is 0-0 against UFC level lefties, and I could not find a lot of notable lefties like I have in some other Southpaw stats I got coming your guys' way for later on. So there's not a lot of answers there. So even though it's playable lines, whether you want to take the more proven product for plus money, or again, playable chalk if you like Sola, what I see as well. But I don't know, Mike. I have reservation, especially with the mood that I'm in now. But aside from that, it's probably the smart move to maybe wait and see on these debutantes. What's your opinion on that point? And obviously, what's your opinion on this fight?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. Whenever you get these new guys that come in and you're making them favorites, and you're seeing that they're French, they're on that side of the pond, you automatically your mind goes to one spot. You know what I mean? Your mind goes to one spot. But with this fight, I look at this, and when I first saw Sola on film, I was like, yeah, man. Like I like this guy. I like the way he throws his combinations. I like that when he's back up into into the cage, or he's being pushed in pressure cooker, this guy starts letting his hands go. I mean, I'm like this. I like this kid. Then as time started going on, I was like, but this kid's got a lot of offense. He's got a lot of good offense. He really ties his punches together well. He's got a good smooth movement. Even when he's loading up, it kind of looks smooth. But he's got no defense. I mean, this dude is getting hit. I mean, it's weird. He's got like a very weird structure to his neck. His head's very fucking high. He's on the center line, has no head movement at all. I was like, oh, this could be the death of him. As fast as his hands are, as fluid as he looks, as good as he fights going on his back foot and his front foot, if you're not taking your head off the center line, you got a guy who's got any semblance of reach or any semblance of know-how. You're putting yourself in just a bad position. Then at the end of the day, it's offense versus offense. It has nothing to do with defensive prowess anymore. When you look at Rhys McKee, you're like, all right, well, this is a guy who's long, he's rangy, he's been in situations with top-level fighters. They threw him to the wolves. Lose or not, it doesn't matter. He's been in there with these guys. He's been in there with some killers. Yep. And I'm saying to myself, I think this is going to be the death of Sola. I think it's just his defensive ability is just not there. Like when it comes to a head movement, avoiding punishment, it's almost like you have to flip a switch with him. Like he comes in, he looks smooth, and once you start backing him up, you're hitting him, and he just starts letting his hands fly. And it's nice to watch. It's fun to watch because at least he's firing back. He's not shelling up. But that's not going to fly on the UFC level. Like after a while, even if he does beat Rhys McKee here, eventually, if you don't fix that, that's not a hole. That's a gaping hole that somebody's going to expose. Just in a matter of one or two fights, the teams are going to look at that and say, look, this kid fucking doesn't move his head. It's cement. Go in there and just take his head off, throw everything down the center line, and eventually he's going to go. But I'm going to say, like, he's going to have to prove it to me that he could beat somebody like Rhys McKee. Even though I'm not high on Rhys McKee in any way, shape, or form. I can't believe I'm picking Rhys McKee here. But I'm going to pick him. I'm going to pick Rhys McKee in this spot. I think that he's going to land the more, damaging strikes. I think that even though he is slower, he's going to probably look a little slower in here. I think there's something to be said about timing, range, and precision over volume and, swinging for the fences and wishing for, hoping a prayer. So give me Rhys McKee here to humble the Frenchman.
I respect it, man. Again, I'm usually more about the proven product, and I don't know if it's like my bad run that's got me second guessing a lot of my stuff, or I'm back to my notes before. It was live betting, which I should probably take that advice with the Ruffy pick, right, and not invest in that. And then it was trust your reads was the other one, right? And yeah, I like that you mentioned that too, because he actually reminded me of a lower level, obviously, but of Imavov in the sense of like Imavov is he can get countered the two ways he can get caught is countered coming in, even though he's a good counter puncher, and that's a lot of his game, especially when he faces southpaws. He's going to be countering more, so that's another reason why I like Borralho, because it's going to kill a lot of Imavov's volume, the stance. But the thing is, when you press him, regardless of your stance, his head, he does the classic head upright, you go in a line. I know it's something you always look for, Mike, right? You just spotted it right there with Sola. And so Solo's got that too, where again, he's got that swagger enough to impress a guy like me. Not that I always pick the southpaws, but sure, you could accuse me of that bias, more than fair. But But at the same time, I got to acknowledge those weak points, which you did a beautiful job of reminding me for not just this fight, but also the main event that I just touched on to tie into this fight, right? So that is an excellent point. And I got to ask you, Mike, I'm not going to ask you to tip your hand, by the way, although my guy MMA Plays put out a play that I'm like, this feels like a Mad Lab play. He said he goes Imavov plus 5.5 at minus 205. I'm like, that feels like a Mad Lab play there. Don't want to have you tip your hand, Mike, but riddle me this. Obviously more than a respectable pick any day, any way you cut it for McKee. But is this one of those picks, even with the plus money, is this worth going to, not saying whether or not you will, but is this one worth going to the betting window, even if you side with McKee, or is this more like, don't invest too much into this one, folks?
I wouldn't invest anything into this fight.
Okay, so we're on the same page there. Then we're on the same page there.
I mean, from a picking perspective, sure, we're going to pick, but from a betting perspective, I wouldn't go near. There's not enough meat on the bone for either. I mean, it's not enticing.
I agree. I completely agree. I'm glad we're in agreement there, man.
Yeah.
So I feel I feel less crazy about these fights. Not that there's real big stakes in them, anyways. But let's move on, shall we? We've got Patricio Pitbull. I had to look twice on this fight versus Losene Keita. Like, what is going on, man? Like, they're giving Pitbull some tough stylistic fight. Then they give him a more winnable fight that even if you do beat a guy like Danny Ige, you're not going to look good in, right? And he was an underdog in that fight. Almost gets knocked out, still wins. And now they giving him Keita, who this guy I'm high on. He's on my prospects to watch list. He was on my prospects to watch list back in 2023 or 2024, even Losene Keita. And he's a guy who, again, I was just mentioning, with the old black guy from Belgium thing, by the way, Losene Keita, minus 225 is your favorite. Comeback on Patricio Pitbull, plus 185. That wasn't far from the opener, folks. Over 2.5 rounds, minus 220. Under 2.5 rounds, plus 285. You got to start looking at the under at that point. But to be honest, this is another avoid for me, man. And again, you have a nice number if you want the more proven product in Pitbull. Pitbull has underrated wrestling that I was hoping was going to show in his Yair Rodriguez fight, because how else was he going to win that fight, right? But even when he needs to do it, even with some of his biggest cheerleaders for Pitbull being underrated pound for pound talent in his prime and even post prime when he was outside the UFC, he's clearly in the post prime now. Even that, I don't know if I'm confident enough for him to potentially expose Lusa, which again, Lusa, I don't even know if Lusa, how much he's really going to be exposed there. I like his counter wrestling and what we've seen from his grappling on the regionals. I like that better than what I've seen from Oki to that previous example. Lusa's also a Venom athlete, which I noticed, but he wasn't training. A lot of the Venom guys are training with each other. You've got not BSD. He's got his own gym in France. But you've got Imavov. He's training with Gomis, who we'll talk about here. And he's also training with the other guy from Belgium that we talked about, Oki, right? And but with Gomis a 145er there, I'm guessing there's probably conflict. So Losene Keita's staying training with his normal team, which I don't recognize, folks. It's not a big name team with big name fighters. But they appear to have him really well trained. This guy's really well trained, not just like the athletic, explosive, like stereotypes or whatever. Like, no, he's got really good counters, really good strikes off the break. I really like where his head's at. And he was a guy I had pegged early. And it's very rare that I pick against these guys, even though I love Pitbull. And I don't blame anybody for taking a stab at the proven product, that kind of plus money. I am, to the surprise of probably not very many, I am going to stick with my prospects to watch person, who is the 2-1 favorite here. But again, this is a fight that I don't want to have any involvement in. Respect for Pitbull, as well as we've seen fighters with higher prospects and hype than Losene Keita come and have, crap performances in their debut. Back to what we were just talking about, Mike. So a little lengthy, but I said my gist there. Where do you stand on this, buddy?
Yeah, I'm on your side in this one. I'm gonna go with the kid, but the thing that fears me with this is first of all, I'm never taking him at this price. So this is a complete stay away from me. If somebody wants to take Pitbull at this price, I will, even though I'm picking the other side, I will give you the rhymes and reasons why I think it's okay. I think there is some meat on the bone for him here. And the reason why I say that is because if you're an LK backer like we are in this fight, obviously, the thing you have to be concerned with is when you see these guys come in, right? Listen, I'm well aware that this guy's way past his prime. But when you see guys that are coming in from bigger organizations with a lot of hype behind them, what happens? Sometimes they drop the ball. Happened to Manel Cap. Happened to Ariana Lipsky. It happened to just recently to what's his name who just got knocked out. Help me out, DT. He just got knocked out. He just got knocked out.
On his last card?
Yeah.
Hooper? The one you picked against?
No, he just got knocked out. The kid from Bellator.
From Bellator. Yeah. Aaron Pico. Sorry.
Yeah, Aaron Pico.
Yeah,
you see it, right? But when you look at Manel Cap, and I know he's younger, and Ariana Lipsky, I know she's younger, but then all of a sudden, like they get comfortable. They get comfortable. They start fighting to the potential. So even though the potential of Pitbull's gone, like we know that he's way past it. He lost his first fight. He comes back and he beats Dan Ige. Who's to say, okay, now he's settling in a little bit. He's, the drama's gone, the Pitbull's here is gone, the hype is gone, and now he's just a fighter on the roster, and now he's getting comfortable. That's what I fear. I fear that he gets into a little bit of a groove. So, and if he gets into a little bit of a groove against a kid in LK who is athletic, he's going to look much faster in there. Moves in and out well, but at the end of the day, he's still very raw. And there's going to be, like I said, I always bring up trap doors. There are trap doors that Pitbull knows about that this kid hasn't even fathomed that exist. You know what I mean? So that's what I'm scared of in this fight. I'm going to lean towards LK, but it ain't getting none of my money. If you guys told me that you wanted to take a shot on Pitbull, I wouldn't fault you for it. But for me, this is a complete stay away.
Yep, same here. And again, this is another one of those cases where the typical crossroads fight, you have one guy kind of going down, but he could fall off a cliff, which makes the downward trajectory even worse. And another guy going up where he could shit the bed or he could make those jumps that these young kids tend to do. And that dynamic, that can make you more firmer on the side from a money line perspective, which again, we kind of covered and are not going to touch. But the way it makes this fight kind of untouchable overall is because the fact that Pitbull, as good as he is, as much as I love him and defend him more than others, the fact that he could fall off a cliff, that takes off the cheeky points handicaps and split decision props that me and you like to sometimes dabble with, both to our differing degrees, granted. But that takes those off the table, because whether you want any kind of decision prop or any kind of points handicap prop, folks, what's the first thing you got to look at? Durability. That is the first checkbox you need to check before you even can consider those bets. And again, I just don't know where Pitbull's at. So I can't even get jiggy with it. I can't even get cheeky with it. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you do, but I'm just preaching to the choir here, but we made our point, folks. Let's move on to the next one. We're getting into the fraudulent corner part of the card. Potential frauds, proven frauds on the fringe. We'll see. We got William Gomis. None of my homies like Gomis. William Gomis is your favorite. Opposite Robert Ruchała, which I thought was a short notice fight. Maybe it is. It's just not listed on Tapology. And, but it's not. This is the classic. Maybe they want to get Gomis a win. He is the minus 270 favorite, has inflated since the opener. Whereas Robert Ruchała, he is a KSW product. Well, I'll touch on that slightly before I hand it over to my guy Mike with some Southpaw stats. The comeback on Ruchała, plus 220, which matches the under 2.5 rounds, also plus 220, with the over 2.5 rounds minus 270. Again, matching on all sides. And you know what? As much as I hate Gomis, as much as I like to get cheeky with the totals, I think the openers and the market moves and where things are setting, I think they're right. And I hate Gomis. He's one of the most fraudulent fighters, man. Oh my goodness. Dude had one of the most fraudulent winning streaks. Finally got him. I did the was it the Bush administration? I can't forget who I'm quoting here, but they go, ladies and gentlemen, we got him. I had to bust out one of those. When you finally get. Not that you should be betting emotionally, folks, but let's be honest. Right, Mike? I'm sure you've been there. When you finally get that guy you've been fading, you're like, finally fucking got him, right? Gomis was that guy with Hyder Emil, baby. That being said, he is a southpaw, does excellent counter work. Really underrated clinch work, getting better in all areas, underrated in all areas, as much as I shit on him. Whereas Ruchała, is technically 0-0 against UFC level southpaws because he's never fought a UFC level opponent. But one of his most notable opponents, which granted was a loss, was a southpaw who was on that same prospects to watch list that I had Losene and Keita on. That, of course, was Saladin Parnasse. That's probably going back to my 2022, actually 2023 list for that one. And he is like a more aggressive, promising Leon Edwards. Basically, he's a southpaw neutralizer, but he's more aggressive, than the neutralizing aspects. And even he, as a neutralizer, was able to get on the front foot and push Ruchała back. And I know you're a guy who appreciates footwork, Mike, and especially when I'm doing the southpaw reports, that's the first thing I look. Not that you always have to move to the outside foot awareness is important. It's great. It's a principle. It's a staple, but it's not an end all be all, right? With that being said, if a guy is clearly not moving to the right side and he's moving to the wrong side or he's sporadic, there is problems there. And yeah, dude, Ruchała's footwork, his ring generalship and defense all fall apart against the southpaw. He's not as aggressive as he is against orthodox opposition. I know it's only one sample because he hasn't fought many even notable southpaws. But yeah, it really affects his striking game. And the fact that he can get pushed on the back foot against a neutralizer makes me wonder that even if he is pushing Gomis on the back foot where he can fight from, will it even be enough if his defense and shot selection and lead hand has gone to crap, as most orthodox MMA fighters do? So I'm going to be picking Gomis here, but this is not a fight that I want to touch. Mike, where do you stand on this one, buddy?
Yeah, real quick, when you say emotional betting, the most emotional bet, one of the most emotional bets that I had was Lyman Good.
Okay.
Against Dos Santos.
Oh, dude, that's such an underrated fight, by the way, folks. Such an underrated fight.
And the reason being because I was around him that whole camp, and my buddy Ben was doing his meal preparation and stuff. So like I was watching him train. I was watching Ben do his meal prep. I'm like, bro, there's no way he's fucking losing this price. He hits this fight. He looks like a unit. And he ended up losing a split decision, but it was a war. Remember that? It was a war, dude. And so that was like my emotional betting story. I was like, I'm going all in on him. I backed up the truck. But anyway, with this fight, I'm so happy you just said what you just said because I shut the film off of Ruchała. Literally shut it off within about a minute and a half because I'm telling you, the one thing I always tell people is the first thing I look at with striking is your footwork, yes, but one in particular thing that if you do, I don't even go any further. Cross your feet.
Oh, yeah.
Bro, this guy crossed his feet. I couldn't believe how many times he crossed his feet. I was like, okay, that's once, that's twice, that's three times, that's four. After like 5 times, I was like, this guy's good for nothing. And I just Z'd him out. He's got horrible striking technique. I mean, this guy was throwing kicks with his feet crossed. You know what I mean? Skirting the cage, crossing his feet, like almost like he was hopscotch. And I was like, this guy's I have no idea what he's even doing in there. I'm actually shocked that he had success in KSW because I was watching some of the stuff from KSW. I was like, I'm actually shocked this guy had success there. And that's where the success comes from. It comes because he does everything so wrong that you're like, what's going on? What is he doing? So I could see like where he would have success because sometimes you could be so goofy footed in there that it actually throws off a fighter saying like, this guy is so bad, it's awkward and it's effective. Almost like Prince Nassim in boxing. Like he did everything so weird. He was dancing around. He was doing all these things and he would win until somebody finally got their paws on him and then the blueprint was out. But yeah, man, with this fight, I think the price is right. I think it's lined where it should be. I think Gomis, and I don't like Gomis, but because I was looking for every reason when I saw this fight, I was like, I can't wait to break this guy Ruchała down. We might have a hot dog on our hands. But I think Gomis just slows this fight down, does what he does, keeps it in his wheelhouse, and just dismantles this guy, probably by decision. But there's nothing about Ruchała that I would even attempt to look at. So I'm going Gomis.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. The only thing is Gomis can be frustrating and wasn't as good as, I think the case is out, but also that Ruchała guy, the one thing he does have going for him is he's tough as hell. That's clearly what's keeping him in these fights.
Yeah, no, he's tough. Yeah,
so,
he's definitely tough.
So that's another reason why I'm not betting this, though, is because I don't like Gomis. I don't like big chalk like that.
Oh, I'm not betting the fight. But I think
no, yeah, for sure. Yeah. I'm just saying, like, to audience, as far as like potential angles out there that we're not covering, like, even if you wanted to get cheeky, again, this would be a dangerous fight too, because you're like, oh yeah, Gomis should tool him, but it still might, go all the way to decision. And without looking right now, I can tell you that decision number is going to be chalked to hell, even by going by decision. So, yeah, not much to touch there to your point. So, yeah, I completely, we're in agreement there. Potential F words, we'll see. I don't know. Oumar C. We'll see about Oumar C, who's facing Brendson Ribeiro, who is a terrible fraud level fighter, yet still capable of fraud checking people, as we've seen, which is a perfect depiction of the light heavyweight division, right? Light heavyweight, again, divisional stereotypes and things that I'm continually proven right on, folks. And I'll post these odds real quick while my guy Denis has them up. Minus 475 for Oumar C. Big favorite here. Come back on the underdog. Brendson Ribeiro. Plus 340. Under 1.5 rounds. Plus 140. Over 1.5 rounds. Minus 160. If the over was in more playable range, I would maybe look toward that. Otherwise, again, this is another weird fight where Ribeiro, hard to say how much ground skills he has, given how fraudulent Nurgajoy has looked like in every phase of the fight. But yeah, if you got to imagine if C wants to take him to the ground where he's been liking to take his fights, a lot of his strength lays. Do we get one of those, we cruise to the over stalemates, which is why I was saying I would look at that over if it was a little bit lower on that chalk number. Otherwise, this is a fight I want to steer clear of because, again, C is a guy who just I'm still not sold on. It's hard to get sold again with the matchups that are both offered at light heavyweight, and B, with the point that I'm finished rounding to as far as things that I call right, but unfortunately aren't the important things that are brag-worthy. But what I keep saying is glass cannons a light heavyweight division, right? Like, again, we picked Ming Yang Zhang both last week, right, Mike? But there was a reason why we had no interest in betting that fight, right? It's because, again, light heavyweight, it's the land of glass cannons, right? So these guys look great offensively, but back to your point, breaking down Sola, who we might, he could fit that bill in his own way, in his own weight class, but how do they look defensively, right? And that's the thing. And neither of these guys have great defense, and neither of these guys have lights out striking technique that's like anything to write home about, but they're also both very capable of hurting you should they place their punches correctly. So yeah, I say all that to give the who's answer and saying that I'm gonna pick the big favorite, but yet I have no faith in them, yet not enough faith in the underdog to play that side either, and we'll probably be staying away altogether. What do you got, Mike?
I don't really have much to add to that. I think you're spot on. I think Ribeiro's like a once in a while fraud checker. Like that's what he is. Like once in a while he's going to find a seam and he's going to hit that pipeline. He's going to take advantage of it. But outside of that, like if it doesn't happen in due time, then I just think that C's going to take over this fight. I'm not high on him either. I have a lot of questions about him, watching him on film and just some of the decisions that he makes. But at the end of the day, when I match these guys up, it's to me like if Ribeiro doesn't make something happen early and allow C to kind of get his confidence a little bit in there and feel like, look, I could do this, I could do that to you. I think C takes over this fight. So I'm going to go with him. But like I said, especially from a DraftKings perspective, guys, and I know like this is more of a wagering show, but I just want to give you a little, like when you see a price tag of $9,500 for a guy like C, like could he look like a $9,500 fighter? Sure he could. But at the end of the day, like to me, those price tags are reserved for certain people. They're reserved for the Dustin Poiriers, the Max Holloways, the Amanda Nunes is when she comes back.
Great point.
Those are reserved for those. Like, I mean, we used to see Khabib at 9,500. You're going to give C that price tag. So from a DraftKings perspective, calculate that in your mind and separate your fighters in tiers. And I don't care if they're a $9,500 price tag and they're going against Can. The fact is they're getting the same price tag as these guys that are such proven commodities that you've seen them do it over and over and over again, and they deserve that. They showed you their accumulation in strikes. They showed you how many takedowns they get per affair. They've gave you like a sample size of scoring to say, look, their average score is this, so they very much can score this. This guy has given you nothing yet to give him a $9,500 price tag. So do I think he wins the fight? Yes. Do I think he could cover that price tag? Do I think that he look like that line? Yes. But you got to play a little bit of conventional wisdom and you have to have some common sense when you do this, and it's there's that's too much of high stakes for me to go near it.
Preach, brother, preach. Before we move on, I just want to keep that same energy and say, Mike, right there, that's a perfect example. What I was just saying, as far as analysis, it's not gonna, it's not. He's not giving you a bet in that analysis, right? Not something you can victory lap over. But this is the kind of analysis that ages and you can apply through the sport. And it's what's particularly prevalent about what you said about having your own tiers of favorites and those examples you gave that illustrated it beautifully is what have we been saying that we both have had the inside on the books that we can confirm they are intentionally doing this. They're raising the castle walls on all the chalk, right? From your heavyweight overs, your women overs, your deserved favorites to your point, what we're talking about, undeserved favorites. That's where it's going up, and they're doing it to protect themselves. That being said, there is no biological free lunch. Everything has a cost, and what is the cost? Well, the weak part of that wall, where's the most exploitative from a value percentage? Well, it's the overinflation on the weak guys, right? So that's what you kind of want to try to spot more. And even if you do end up picking the Oumar C's, a good way to keep perspective as far as betting goes is those tiers. That was really sharp. I don't know if people realize how important those tidbits are to help you guys on your
and
journey.
there's one fight that we're going to cover that I'm going to give you a perfect example of that, but we'll keep moving on.
Yep, and we'll push on. I was going to say we're making good time, but then there's still a decent amount of fights, and I that's because there's 14 freaking fights to break down, folks, with a bunch of them that they just kind of did some switches on us. I'll be a lot quicker, minus maybe 2 fights left to talk about. Let's start with that quicker breakdowns, and definitely quicker from me with this one. Marcin Tybura versus hey, Aunt Elijah, I hear your PFL is over and you're signing with Marcin Tybura. Is it true? Eating a whole bowl of Polish stew. Sorry. Yeah, Delija, Aunt Elijah without the stupid song from me that is hopefully now stuck in your guys' head. Eat it. Minus 115. Slight favorite, I guess, over Marcin Tybura, minus 105. I don't know where this opened. I imagine that Tybura was a slight favorite, but it probably didn't open much wider than it is now, as it should be. With the totals, by the way, we got a heavyweight over at plus money, but it's only plus 110. It is a 2.5 total here. So over 2.5 rounds plus 110, under minus 130. I'll just be quick. Marcin Tybura he should probably be on that Charles Johnson and Alexander Volkov list for me as far as like my no bet list, because I've been better with Volkov. I shouldn't throw him off there, but yeah, he should be on there with the Charles Johnson list because he's kind of inconsistent. It's hard to be like, oh, Tybura always loses to superior athletes, right? We're like, well, that's not really true because he can also outlast the superior athletes like the Romanovs of the world and most heavyweights with no gas tanks. Like, well, he loses to big tall guys though. Well, that's not really true. He's beaten some 6'4" and 6'5" guys as well. He even has a win over Stefan Struve, and it was washed. Point is, really tough to pick depend on Marcin Tybura to win or lose. I'm going to pick him here. Ante Elijah, really athletic, Crow Cop trained, but likes to get fights to the ground. Was one of the first guys to kind of expose that weakness on guys like Renan Feda. But even in those victories, like in round 1, like he's a guy. We talk about guys who take damage and don't wear it well. There's a lot of those guys. And Elijah is one of those guys. Victory or defeat, doesn't wear damage too well. So yeah, I have a hard time picking this one. Where do you ended up on this one, Mike?
Yeah, I made a lot of money with Tybura, man, in his career. You know what I mean?
Nice.
Like I really did, and it's basically because I think people, and I agree with you. I think he's very inconsistent. Like there's sometimes where he comes out, you're like, what is he doing? It looks like he doesn't even want to be there. And then sometimes he digs deep and he shows that he's just very serviceable heavyweight. Like he's not a championship pedigree heavyweight, but he is a UFC level heavyweight that if you don't take him seriously, he's going to walk out of that cage with a W. He's good. I mean, I think Marcin Tybura, when he's dialed in, he's good. And I won a lot of money with him against Romanov and a lot of guys. Does this fight scare me a little bit? Yeah, because you always got to wonder, is the Tybura going to come out where it looks like he's given up in there? But at the end of the day, like, the streak is the streak with this guy. Like this guy, when he walks into the cage, I have confidence that this guy's going to give trouble to whoever he fights. When he's, like I said, it's all predicated on whether he's clocked in or not. I like him here. I do. I like him here. I think he's actually getting a little disrespected here. I think he should be the favorite. Not by much, but I had this more line minus 130 for Tybura.
Yeah, same.
Is that how you had it?
Yeah, and he opened at -138. I just double checked now, so I wasn't wrong saying that he opened as a favorite, and you weren't wrong saying -130. Yeah, and that's the area I had it too. Yeah, -138 was the official opener.
Yeah, but what is it now?
-105, so you're getting value.
That's what I'm saying. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's like there's a lot of people jumping on the train on the other side, and I think a lot of it has to do with what you said, the whole Crow Cop thing, and But I don't know, man. I can't go against Tybura in this spot. There's just certain spots I can't go against him, and this is one of them. There's a lot of spots I can, but this spot right here is just lining up like a Tybura, like just dirty, boring, grimy win.
Yeah, you know what cursed me is I started off hot betting against him with Timmy Big Dick. Shout out to MMA Analysis, Tim Johnson. Getting him as an underdog when Tybura came in with all that hype, and I was like, yeah, I got the durable American Southpaw can wrestle at dog money. Yeah, baby, their archetype. Well, even though it was a sketchy ass fight, right? Nothing to really brag about there. But yeah, no, I don't disagree with that. I just want to add real quick, Tybura. I love his high pitched voice. And when he fights, the fact that he looks like one of his hands is on a marionette string being operated by a different fighter with different intentions. Like his hand is doing this. Like he looks like he's in like a Paula Abdul music video or something. Like I'm like, what is he doing in there? But there's a method to his madness. And then he gets on the mic. He's like, "Hello, I'm missing Tybura."
Yeah, I know, yeah.
And I saw him, by the way, before one of his Apex fights. He was in the Whole Foods, because the Whole Foods I go to is right by the Apex. So you see all the fighters and crews in there shopping on fight week, right? And dude, I saw him looking at a case of beer, a 6-pack of beer, like Garth in Wayne's World looking at the guitar, or Wayne in Wayne's World looking at the guitar, like, it will be mine. Oh yes, it will be mine. Like he was literally having a moment, and one of his cornermen had to literally come up and shake his arm, like, Marcin. And he will, yeah, yes. And it was the most endearing thing I've ever seen, right? Some just big lugging heavyweight. He looks gentle as a giant, though, right? Like one of those gentle giant guys, right?
Yeah, no, he 100%. He looks like he's a pure gentleman. But like I said, there's something about him. I always liked him, bro. Even you can ask my subscribers from back in the day. Like I always had a thing for Marcin Tybura. He seems like a solid fighter, a good guy, and somebody that I think needs to be in the heavyweight division until he can't do it anymore.
He's one of the few heavyweights that can take it back too, which is huge, by the way. That sounds small, but that's that's almost as big as the list of people who can wrestle in that division. You know what I'm saying?
yeah, for sure.
All right, let's move on to this next fight. I'm not going to have too much to say about this one. It was a switch out. Kauê Fernandes was originally scheduled to face Faraz, who people were looking forward to, Smile Killer, who I always keep mixing up with I can't even think of who he is now, with another fighter, and I probably shouldn't say, because it probably just made me look racist. But now he's facing Harry Hardwick, who, with all the relation fighters that we just saw Mikhail Alexejic's brother face, is like this guy related to George Hardwick's brother over there. He is of course the Cage Warriors featherweight champ. How many did he have any defenses? Yeah, I think he had at least one defense over there, from what I remember. Yeah, 2 or so. I haven't gotten to look too much at him, admittedly. A little more familiar with Kauê Fernandes, who is, a little more your journeyman fighter, kind of tough everywhere. But, if you can press a fight in a certain direction, you can pull away. If you can outlast, you can pull away. His defense, again, not as good as his offense. I probably don't disagree with him being favored here, but I don't want to make too strong of a pick. Maybe I do have to make something for the show, but this might be the one fight where I'm on the fence on. Mike, where do you sit on this one, buddy?
Yeah, man, I'll be honest with you. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to bullshit the people. I didn't do much study on this fight because it's fairly new. I'm going to lean. I'm going to lean Fernandes, I guess, but I guys, don't listen to me for this fight. I did not get to really jump into this. Is the one fight I didn't get to really jump into. So for the show, I'll say Fernandes, but I don't know. I really don't know on this one.
Yeah, he's certainly the more proven fighter. Harry Hardwick is a lot of decisions. Recently, maybe coming more in his hands. That's where the striking is. I just worry about the guys. I don't believe it from memory. And in the little clips I've seen, he's not like a guy like whatchamacallit, those guys. That's the guy that fought Callan Cater, Chris Fishgold. These guys that come through.
He was the guy who he was hyped up, Chris Fishgold. Remember how hyped up he was?
Yeah,
and hyped Chris Fishgold up.
And not only was he this, not to harp on the stereotype or do the old race science there, but not only was he an English grappler, right, without the wrestling, that classic crash and burn type that we see come over, right? But he was also a round one guy, which, I love fading those guys, right? I love the more proven products in the late round plays, right? So to speak. So yeah, and I don't think Harry Hardwick looks much more well-rounded from what I've seen, but I can't say too much, folks, more than that. So
who are you picking?
I'll lean toward the favorite, but this might be one of those picks where like I just do a bullshit dog pick if I see enough of what I like.
Like I said, I don't know. Guys. Don't listen to me. Listen to more to him on this, not me.
Yeah, well, for the purpose of the show, we're going to be leaning toward the favorite, but this is not a fight you want to invest on either way. I don't even know about live either because again, how proven is Hardwick to make that trajectory to fade him or juice him if that's the side you're going to. Let's move to Sam Patterson and Trey Waters. So you brought up the point of length on a fight with Rhys McKee, and it made me think of this fight because when I was breaking down this fight, Mike, we talk about two southpaws like going together. These guys aren't southpaws, but they are two tall guys, and when you have two obscenely tall guys and they fight in divisions where they're used to being the tall guy, things can get tricky, right? And I'll let you answer that in a second. I just want to give the odds. Sam Patterson coming in as your favorite, -185. Come back on Trey Waters, +155. Totals 1.5 rounds set to over 1.5, -175, under 1.5, +155. I don't disagree that Sam Patterson is a favorite. I'm picking Sam Patterson, spoiler alert. That being said, I was surprised to see him favored, not just favored where he is, and the fact that the market is pushing him that way, because as the number climbs, you still have to ask yourself about his chin. So, Mike, with that, where do you stand on that? And where do you stand on my read as far as, regardless of side, the chaos you have to bake into the line with two tall guys, if one's not particularly durable?
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that, when I first saw the line, I thought it was a little rich. It's strictly because it's Sam Patterson and his chin. Like, you got to be concerned with that. But then when I started watching Trey Waters, like the one path where I'm like, dude, this guy really has to button this up is this guy thinks he's like Mayweather and Bobby Green with his hands to his knees. Like, he just literally puts his hands down and he looks to showboat and he looks to like he slings from his hips. Like, he literally shoots punches from his hips. And not only, like, I know you guys, it looks pretty. I get it. It looks pretty when their heads up and their hands are down. But at the end of the day, every millisecond counts. And if you're not, you're not popping and pulling back and popping and pulling back and popping and pulling back, and you're shooting from your hip and you're shooting from your hip, eventually these things are telegraphed. Eventually these things are being read. Body language is being read, adjustments are being made. And it's just something that he does. It's not something that he does in parts of the round. This is a guy that for 30 seconds straight, I've never seen him throwing punches with his hand up, coming back. It's always down. And that's where Patterson wins this fight. I think, I think just the defensive liability of Trey Waters, not being able to throw a lot of volume just for the mere fact that, his hands are always down. The grappling ability of Sam Patterson, it's sneaky. Even though he's tall, he does have some exchanges in there that if it does hit the ground, he's going to. So although I do think Trey Waters is more athletic, he's got a little bit better fluid movement. I just don't like his defensive liability. And at the end of the day, you could say offense all you want, but defense plays a big part in fighting as well. It's not just all about what are you throwing. It's what are you eluding? Even when you're getting hit, if you're not rolling with punches and stuff like that, and you're just there trying to look pretty, I'm a lot of the times I'm not going to buy into you. So I'm going to say Sam Patterson wins this fight. But like I said, if his chin isn't the wrong place in the wrong time, we can see an upset here.
Yeah, I love that analysis, Mike. I will just add quickly, Sam Patterson also, I think he's like a brown belt in BJJ, and he's been quietly being able to show that off. I think he'll have a ground advantage should it go there. But we see the same things because, dude, it's not just that he's doing the impression. I'm all about that style, Bobby Green style, and you're a defender of it too. Like, we're not attacking the low-hanging fruit that others are. Like, there's reasons behind our backings of these fighters, as well as the criticisms of said style, right? And Trey Waters does those Mayweather and Bobby Green dips when he doesn't need to. Not only does he do it, he doesn't need to.
It's more for show.
Yeah, he does it all. He also does it rote, which means he's very he's throwing the same thing, which means you can be timed to where I don't know if his volume's that bad. I don't look too much or put too much weight into the strikes landed per minute. He actually flicks a decent amount of jabs out there, but the reason why you could critique his volume is because it's only ones at a time. And to your defensive point and dipping point, Mike, you notice when he throws his jab, it comes from his hip, and then he dips his head to his hip right after every time. And it's not that you shouldn't move your boxing fundamentals is you should always be moving your head even slightly off of your punches. Like that's kind of a fundamental rule of thumb. Like that in itself is not bad, but there's needless movement, right? Like you don't need to be putting your head way out here off of a jab that's coming way in this direction when you have that much room to jab as a lengthy guy like Trey Waters. And even though he's lengthy and he's tall, he's going to get head kick knocked out. He's going to call it right here, folks. Not this fight, maybe, but I mark my words.
It's there to be had. It's there to be had. And when you look at this, like think about this, like you said, his volume's not terrible. No, it's not terrible. But think about how much better his volume would be if his hands were up and he was bringing his punches back,
and connecting his punches more than one.
Instead of dropping your hands and bringing them back up and dropping your hands and bringing them back up. Like it's just too much. It's another step that doesn't need to be,
I think he was more insulated by his reach than Patterson is basically from their styles. You could tell he's only getting away with it because he's tall, whereas Patterson, not that he's impervious, clearly he's been knocked out, but his style is much more has had to probably develop much more because of that. So yeah, we'll go on Patterson. We'll move on to the next fight. We're not too much to get involved in that at the prices. We got Brad Tavares versus Robert Bryczek, who did train briefly at Extreme Couture, but we know who the team captain is. It's my guy, Brad. Bias is going to be in tow. There will be no Brad Tavares slander. Just kidding, Mike. You criticize all you want. Again, I pick against Nick Sick fighters, folks. Although Tavares is a guy that I don't think I can pick against, so my bias is stated for this one. Minus 220 for Tavares. Comeback on Bryczek, plus 180. Over 1.5 rounds, minus 175. Under 1.5, plus 155. I'll throw this to you, Mike, but I'll just say that even though I am biased and I am picking, and this is the parlay leg that I felt better about, that I'm just trying to find something to piece Brad Tavares with. Admittedly, don't follow me off that cliff. That being said, even though Tavares isn't, he's in his post prime. Obviously, he's been around for a minute. He doesn't have the most exciting highlight reel because of his lack of finishes. I totally get that, and I totally get why that leads him to be not a popular fighter. Totally get all those things, not disagreeing. I will say, though, even with my bias put aside, Mike, and you tell me if I'm wrong here, and again, feel free to criticize, tell me where you're going, all that stuff. I still feel like he's one of the more criminally disrespected fighters of any weight class, just because I know it's not a competitive weight class, but dude, we look at the turnover of the UFC. You're talking about even guys who don't deserve to be turned over, like Mason Jones. Like when we talk about a revolving door, folks, we're not just talking about UFC business practices. We're not just picking on the quote fraudulent fighters, right? Like this revolving door kind of affects everybody. So no matter your story, to be in the UFC as long as Tavares, to have the wins record and be tied for it all time in a division that's rich historically as the middleweight division, like that is something, man. And the guy's got incredible takedown defense, good jab and leg kick. Would I love to see him be more aggressive? Oh my God, would I love to see him be more aggressive? I'm not going to defend any of that stuff, but I will say I don't know if he gets the respect that he deserves. That being said, this is a fight that he should win, and the odds makers in the market don't seem to disagree. Mike, tell us from an unbiased point of view. Let's get some unbiased views in here. What do you think of this fight?
Well, I'm a little biased.
All right,
because I'm a big Brad Tavares guy.
Oh shit! You're the other one.
Yeah, I'm a big Brad Tavares guy. Just for the mere fact that like people overlook work ethic, a little bit too much. They want to see the flashy knockouts. They want to see the Trey Waters style movements and stuff like that, and they disrespect the actual work ethic and the way things are working in concert in the cage. And Brad Tavares is an ace at that. I mean, this kid has good stand up. He's got good leg kicks. He understands range. He's durable. He's got good conditioning. And then a lot of people say, yeah, well, what happens if he gets taken to the ground? Well, he doesn't go to the ground. Why doesn't he go to the ground? Good luck getting him to the ground. So this kid has, and I call him kid because, I know he's older, but he's younger than me. This kid's just so well-rounded and he knows what he's good at. That's the thing. Like, he's not going to go chasing a finish. He's not going to go, getting chaotic. He's going to fight his game. He's going to let everything come to him. And more times than not, he's going to win, but he's going to win by decision. So I do think he wins this fight, and I think he wins by decision. It's going to be a normal style, Tavares style fight. This is the fight, though, I'm talking about from a DraftKings perspective. the one fight that I'm talking about. Now, I just want to pull it up real quick just so I can. Okay.
I love the DraftKings stock.
So he's $9,100 in DraftKings. Okay. So now you're thinking about that and you're saying, okay, well, 9,100. Yeah, sure. If you're looking at it from a wagering perspective and you look at the line, you're like, yeah, that I could go with that. I can get down with that price tag in a parlay, like you said. But when you're talking about $9,100 in DraftKings, you have to cover that value. You got to cover that value. So yeah, he can win, but he can also score 50 points. Now, the point I was making is because I have to do the breakdowns from my site and everything, is that in his last 10 fights, he beat Mearchart, he scored 50. He lost to Park. I'm going to just go over his wins. Okay,
Please,
so he beat Mearchart, 50. Weidman, 58. Akhmedov is the one fight who scored 74. Carlos Jr., 55. So he hasn't touched 91 since 2018. He's hovering around 60 something points. His average is only 49.2. So when you look at the 9,100 and you say, yeah, I'm confident that he's going to win, I still want nothing to do with him in DraftKings for the mere fact that that's just too rich of a price. He hasn't covered that price tag in over 10 fights. So that's the other dynamic. Like there's a totally different dynamic from wagering and from DraftKings. A wagering dynamic, he could be a great parlay piece. A DraftKings dynamic, he's a terrible 9K play. So, but I do like Brad Tavares by decision here.
I could absolutely see that, and I know I speak for a good portion of the audience. I love the DraftKings stock. It's been something I've lacked, and a weakness of mine mainly because I've been able to play since being here in Vegas. They make the fantasy stuff, and those houses like the FanDuels and DraftKings can't really play those. Although shouts to somebody that gave me the tip to the Boyd Gaming to play certain things that those houses offer, minus the fantasy. I don't have that up yet, but I might actually activate it this week. I've been so busy I wasn't even able to do it on the week off, and all the casinos that I had to go activate it are pretty far from me, folks. But thank you to the commenter in the comments. And again, feel free to comment and like, subscribe. Thank you guys. Appreciate you guys being here. Thank you, Brian D89, for the very kind comment there in the chat. It says, man, I've been waiting to catch you guys live for so long. You guys are the best in the MMA space, and I appreciate all the knowledge you guys are filled with.
Thanks, Brian. That's a nice comment, bro. Thank you.
Yeah. Way too kind, and I'll have to deviate a lot of that comment to my guy Mike, but we will take it nonetheless, sir. Thank you. But let's so let's push on here. We both agree on Tavares, and even with the biases in or out, like you said, I'm not a big parlay guy. Mike's even less of a big parlay guy, but yeah, you could see why I'd be looking at him as a parlay piece. Not saying you need to be, but in defense. Let's push on to the next fight here. Speaking of fraudulent, since William Gomis and Tabitha Ricci got knocked off, the current winner for the most fraudulent active winning streak is Renat Fakhretdinov, or as I like to say, Renat, you can fuck right off with that record. He faces Andreas Gustafsson. I believe he opened as a slight favorite, but the line has flipped. Perhaps people have been upset. It's a little emotional betting. Maybe everyone's trying to get their George Bush. Ladies and gentlemen, we got a moment to Fakhretdinov there, and they're choosing Andreas Gustafsson, who looks like he is straight out of the shower scene in American History X, folks. A questionable white power related tattoos and all. He's got the same fighting style as that guy. He gets you up against the wall and goes to town, basically. Sorry, I have to put that in your head. So shout out to American History X if you had to see that movie, which is a good movie, by the way. But I'm just, shouting out inappropriate scenes, as I tend to do. He is the favorite now, minus 125. We got the over 2.5 rounds, minus 205, which is, can you imagine Edward Norton when you're just like, okay, this is going to happen in the shower. Is it at least, tell me it's at least a favorite to go under. No, it's favorite to go over, bro. No! Favorite to go over, under 2.5, plus 175. Let me dig out of the perverted headspace and see where you stand on this fight, Mike.
Yeah, man, I think this fight's going to be hell on wheels, dude. I know a lot of people are kind of down on Fakhretdinov, and, I get it to a point, but he's still winning. Like the guy still knows how to win. Yes. And you look at Gustafsson, and he's just fucking. He's got what a motor on this guy. Like this guy just pushes forward. He encourages chaos. He wants violence. Like this is going to be a fun fight. This is going to be a really, really fun fight, especially early on in the card, early morning. This is like a cup of espresso. This fight, so I'm looking forward to this one. I was torn on this one, but I'm going to go with Gustafsson. I just think that he's got this certain pressure and this certain ability to kind of put it on you in ways where like you just have no, if you don't have the right answer and soon, you'll just capsize. You know what I mean? And even if he doesn't finish you, it's like it's hard to kind of run back uphill when he's pushing you downhill, and then you got to find your way back, to an even playing ground. So can Fakhretdinov slow that down? Can he nullify that? Sure, of course. Somebody's going to eventually do it. But I don't think this is the spot. I think Gustafsson wins this fight. Close fight. I mean, this is a fight I'm not running to the window to bet. I don't even think I'm gonna. I might, look for an angle and a prop somewhere, but I'm just leading Gustafsson because I just feel like he's going to be the more chaotic, active, bigger moment fighter in this. And if Fakhretdinov's not ready for it, he can get caught underwater.
Man, I'm not gonna lie, I was really hoping you were going the other way because I was gonna push for this fight to be the shot bet.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Our bet fight, yeah. And I'm curious to where Dayton's dog of the week's gonna end up because there's obviously a lot of live dogs and there's a lot of opposing opinions between me and Mike alone, which always makes for good entertainment. But yeah, I was hoping you were gonna be opposite because you're right. He is still winning fights, and even though he takes a lot of damage, he's durable as hell, Fakhretdinov, right?
Yeah.
And he's going to be dogged for takedowns. And it's one of those things where, like, yeah, you look great offensively with the punches, but you could look terrible defensively. Well, that thing we've been talking about all card, that applies on the ground too, right? Like, we've seen guys who look like monsters on top look like babies. And the bigger you go in weight class, the higher chance that they turn into turtles on their back, right? The bigger guys.
Yeah.
And this is welterweight, so maybe not too much of that worry here, but it could still very much apply, right? That being said, I am still picking Gustafsson because Fakhretdinov's game isn't in game over territory. And so not only is he not like a submission ace, I would argue, which is part and parcel why me and many have issues with a lot of the decisions he's getting, is he's not really getting a lot of damage or real advancements from these grappling engagements, So even if he does take Gustafsson down, even if Gustafsson is not as strong, I feel like Gustafsson has to be pretty bad to where like he has a 0% chance get up game for takedowns to equate to a win if the judges are correctly doing their steering / oversteering, arguably going into damage, right? So thinking from that aspect, I go Gustafsson. But speaking of bets, let me give you a hypothetical before we move on here real quick. We'll knock these last two out real fast. We're talking about you with posting that picture of now I'm blanking on his
Chuck
name.
Zito?
Chuck Zito, right? And by the way, Kent, go look at that picture Mike posted. I mean, Mike probably now has pussy fallen out of his pockets, let's be honest. But look at how much of a stud that Mike looks in that picture, right? And we were joking like, oh, they should have recruited you for Oz. But I made that American History X reference, right? And now that I think about it, Mike, like, I don't know, man. Like, I feel like your physique would get you a lot of roles. But if we're talking about prison roles, they would probably get you like doing creepy sex stuff, like so hypothetical. They come to you. They come to you. They come to you in the 90s when they're filming American History. It's like, Mike, we want you in a movie. Like, I've got experience. You're an extra. We just need you to be an extra in prison. Edward Norton's in it. You're like, oh shit, okay, I'll do it. And then the guy who rapes them, what if he calls in sick that day? And they're like, who's the biggest muscly guy we got? Like, oh, that guy over there. What's his name? Mike. Hey, Mike, come over here. Like, we're gonna.
You know what though? You know what? If I ever got that role, I would turn it down.
You would?
Yes.
What if they were like, $100,000.
Can you imagine? Can you imagine? Like, oh my God, Mad Lab was in a movie.
Rape him?
Yeah, he actually act raped somebody in the movie. I'm like, get the fuck out of here! You could no way. No way. That's my only role in his. I'm in the IMDb for having a gay sex scene in a movie. No.
To be honest, you could go on to get like a bunch of like those Tate Fletcher roles and get like expendable extras. It wouldn't matter after you did that movie. Let's be honest, whether you have a career or not, everyone's gonna remember you.
I would turn it down right away, dude.
Edward Norton. All right, he stepped all over. He answered that one with a quickness. I didn't even get to. All right, let's move on for the sake of the show. Lastly, but not leastly, let's definitely drop that talk for this fight. Shauna Bannon versus Sam Hughes. Sam Page. I bring up any of that nonsense.
Well, let me tell you something. I'll just tell you right now. If they gave me a sex scene with either one of these two girls, I'd turn it down too.
I'm sorry for the volume, folks. You got me to go full Eddie Murphy there.
I would turn that down too. Sorry.
I was scared where you were gonna go. That was great. Yeah. Yeah, Sam Page is the thank you, Dayton. You remember I got broken up. Sam Page is the favorite minus 350. Dayton's so fucking awesome. Plus 270 for Shauna Bannon on the comeback. Over 2.5 rounds minus 425. Again, they're stacking those Castle Wall folks. Under 2.5 rounds plus 325. I again, even though I like Sam Page round 3, and that might make the round robin here, by the way, folks. Sam Page round 3 because she's a late finisher. She puts it on, and I'm not a believer in Bannon. And clearly the odds makers are, because usually Sam Page is usually she's on the opposite end historically, right? Of the minus 400 favorite or whatever the hell they had her list 350 favorite. Like she's usually facing a minus 350 favorite, but in this case, I get it. I'm gonna pick Sam Page. I think there's a possibility for a third round. Nothing I want to invest too heavily on, but it's not like you're going to play your money line. I'm going to need some sexy legs. So yeah, give me a round 3 to in the round robin, and I'll stay away. What do you got, Mike?
You know, the interesting about this fight is you have Sam Hughes, who I believe has been a dog in almost every fight, correct?
Basically, yeah, I would say that.
She's been a dog in every fight. In 10 fights, she's been a dog in every fight, and she's 5-5. So she's 50. She's hitting at a 50% clip as an underdog.
Yeah,
you know that's pretty crazy. You know what I mean? That says a lot about her. Listen, and this is the first time now she's a big favorite. I mean, even from a DraftKings perspective, she's 9,200. She's in that upper echelon tier. But this is a fight where I think she has the ability to cover. You know what I mean? She has the ability to cover because I don't look at Shauna Bannon as like a good fighter. I think she's a good fighter if you give her the perfect fight. Like you got to give her the exact fight that she wants. And if you give it to her, then maybe she could be serviceable. But I just think Sam Hughes can kind of beat her anywhere she wants to. You know what I mean? Like if she wants to take it to the ground, she could just ragdoll her and take it to the ground. If she wants to get on top of her and lay some ground and pound, she can. I feel like Sam Hughes is not a very good fighter. Like as far as like she's never going to be a champion. She's never going to be in that elite level. But she almost reminds me like of a Dan Ige a little bit. Like if you don't take her fucking seriously, she's gonna give you some problems. And I think this is a fight where she's a well-deserving favorite. I'm happy to finally see her get the respect she deserves. Maybe a little bit too much respect, for her first favorite, but this is a fight she absolutely should. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if she runs through Bannon in this fight.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that either. Sorry.
I'm not running through any of them. I'll tell you that. I'm running away from them.
I'm still laughing at the thought of you running through Edward Norton.
No way, dude. I would never. I would be insulted if they gave me that role.
That would be the way I would introduce you on the show. Like before no matter how hot you were running, before any accolades, I'd be like, this guy butt fucked Edward Norton, man. He ain't messing around. Dude. Man, like no, I agree with that, and I don't believe in Bannon either. And her takedown defense, to add to your DraftKings point, I think that's where she's going to cover that line, Sam Page, and will eventually, hopefully, cook her to a round 3 finish. If that ends up in the round robin, that I probably won't be on, and probably will be untracked because I'm just going to be throwing them out for. And I hate using that crutch, the entertainment word or whatever. Like I'm out there to try to win. I do care about what I do. I'm competitive, even if it's about stupid shit like analysis, of course, for picks and plays. So, we'll see. But let's recap it, shall we? Before we do the recap, we got to do our parlay. We got to get Dayton's dog of the week. And
do that now, Dayton.
Which one? His dog
pick of the week. Yeah, let's see.
Yeah, I'm curious. That's what I'm waiting for. I'm waiting for Dayton's dog of the week.
He didn't know. He didn't know in the beginning of the show. So now he's making his decision on the fly.
I am legit excited for it, Dayton.
My man.
Oh, smart man. Was it Brownie that sold you? I know Mike obviously is red hot, so that's all you need there. But did Brownie at least help sell you, Dayton?
Well, first off, before the show, I was talking to Mike, and I said, "Look, well, maybe Patricio Pitbull, like he might be all right." Mike said he might be live, but ain't no way in hell he's touching him. So yeah, it was right there that I decided. I was like, you know what, probably shouldn't. I also like the fact that he's a hometown guy, Benoît Saint-Denis, coming in here in France. He's going to have a hometown crowd behind him. And I always like when someone's got the hometown crowd behind them, I always like the advantage that gives them. So that's my pick.
My man.
Well, if you guys didn't need any more of a reason to pick it, right there. Dayton, what's your record on these? I know you won your first one out of the gate. I don't remember what you had last week.
I started off hot. I picked Eric Meconico. He was my first dog. Want to know? And it was Boras and Cannoneer that both like shit the bed for me. So I'm trying to get back to 500 here, fellas.
All right, let's do it.
Well, I feel like by those numbers, that means Dayton's due as well. So again, oof. Yeah, I'm probably gonna, I'm still gonna probably do Ruffy round 3. I'm sticking to my pick. Counter right hand. Probably do round 3 in the round robin. But you know what? I probably should eat full bets or not. Probably should lay off him for the parlay leg. So thank you guys for that. Speaking of parlay, dog or pass parlay. I think we actually came close last week. I don't know, maybe. But like, of course, close is no cigar. Let's try to hit one, man. What are some good chalk pieces, some good dog pieces? Again, we won't get too cheeky with 3.5s. We definitely want to keep it to stuff that we align with, whether it's the pick or at least on an over or under. If we want to go that route, at least agree there. But
what do you want to do? What do you want to do? 2 favorites, 2 dogs?
Was there any dogs we were aligned on, by the way?
Marcin Tybura is a dog. Technically, I mean, he's a -108 right now, and Ante's at -112.
I'll let you decide whether or not we want to use that for the parlay, but that qualifies for the Benji Boy Dog of the Week, albeit slightly. Especially if Marcin, if the market continues to dip and Marcin does officially touch plus money, then we really don't gotta sweat it. But can we put him on the shelf for a potential Benji Boy Dog of the Week, or doesn't qualify? What do you think?
Whatever you want, sure. I mean, bro, if you see someone to pick these people come out and they do dog picks every week, it's the same thing. +105, plus. Yeah. Like, I'm like, why are you even picking? Don't even pick a dog. Go out and get I see it all the time. I go on Twitter, like dog pick +105. I'm like, yeah, +105.
Yeah, you're right. I feel that. Yeah,
but you never do it. You never do it. You go. No. So for you qualify for it.
Well, it's just that our qualifications are we don't really hit too many of these because they have to be a dog and a dog we both agree on, right? So we'll see. We'll see if it goes to even if it is +105 or +110, that actually might, regardless if it's a dog, Benji Boy Dog of the Week, that actually would start getting me to consider betting him, even though I don't like to bet.
Well, I think it's going to be. I think it's going to have to be because I think it's the only dog that we agree on.
Yeah. All right. So we'll put it on there. What the fuck? It's just for shits, anyways. Benji Boy Dog of the Week is going to be a Tybura this week. It's more for the show. Not saying to go run out and empty your bank account on it or anything. It's a heavyweight fight, folks. It's closely lined for a reason. All right, that leads us to the parlay. Do you want to incorporate that in the parlay, or is just having him the dog of the week enough? Or is that value line worth the squeeze? Because it is a nice line.
Well, here's the thing.
Plenty fights.
If we do two favorites and 2 dogs, we're going to disagree on one side. So if you're okay with that, then I'm okay with leaving them off.
You know what? That is true.
I mean, it's just the way it's going to be.
Yeah, let's get to that. Let's get the easy legs out of the way. Tavares is an easy leg, but I guess the question is, do you want to go money line or do you want to get greedy and take Tavares by decision in there?
No, I would go money line because you never know. I would go Tavares. I think Sam Hughes is pretty safe.
Yeah, this Burchak guy could be really bad too. And again, Tavares, back to him being underrated. It would even though I like to say death taxes and Tavares by decision, it would be real poo-poo on our face to be like the biggest Brad Tavares fans and then not be there for when he finally gets the finish,
You know what? This is a good way to do this parlay.
Fire it. Let's go.
We go down the card from top to bottom. And we decide if we want to put them in the parlay. So if there's 4, there's 4. If there's 5, if there's 6, we'll just go from the top of the card to the bottom of the card and say fire that one, leave that one off, fire that one, leave that one off, and that's what we'll do it.
All right, so top two we're opposite on, so we can kind of cross those, right?
Well, Sam Hughes we're both on, so we're going to put her in.
Oh, that go that way, yeah, okay.
Tavares we're going to put her in. Now we're on the Sam Patterson fight versus Trey Waters. Do we want to put him in?
I kind of don't for and not even so much for the faith in him winning, even with his chin stuff baked into the line. It's more just the line itself.
All right, leave it off then.
Because we already got 2 healthy favorites.
Marcin Tybura. Do you want to put him in, or do you want to keep him off?
Let's keep him off to the side right now. But he is the number 1 spot to be in there unless we find something better.
Okay.
Next.
is C versus Ribeiro. I think that line is too juiced.
Too juiced, not worth the squeeze.
Gomis versus Ruchała. I say we put Gomis in. Why not?
Yeah, and I was gonna say you can't even say that makes sense because the over is the same price, and again, Gomis, similar to Tavares, could actually get the finish more than, even though we like to call them decision merchants, right? Whether we love them or hate them. So yeah, let's Gomis money line.
Pitbull and LK. I think I want to stay away from that one.
Yeah, especially with the chalk we already got again.
Alex McKee, we're not aligned on that fight. Mason Jones, we could throw in.
Ooh, Jones is yeah. Throw in Jones, and then we might take maybe another chalk leg off there instead. You know, we might do that. Yeah, keep going.
Bukauskas and Craig.
It's not worth the squeeze, and then that.
Well, we could do the over 1.5 for that fight at -145. That's actually not bad.
That is the one thing I said that would be worth playing. The only thing that it's the big cage, so we could stay away. You just got to worry about Paul Craig getting knocked out, right?
Yeah, I'm gonna keep it. Let's keep it off for now.
Yeah, because we have enough chalk legs. So let's go back. Let's put Tybura on there for sure.
Okay.
I actually like Jones.
You want to put Tybura on there? You're saying you want Tybura on there, so we're gonna put.
Yeah, because there's not a lot of even method wise or totals, right? There's nothing that's coming to mind where we're like, oh yeah, him. You know, inside, unless we wanted to go full fade and like do like Keita inside the distance or something like that, but that's not
Benoît
even.
Denis versus Mauricio Ruffy. Obviously, we're not going to touch that because that's the over 1.5 isn't bad, but I don't know if I want to go near that either.
Yeah, even the totals kind of trip me out for the top two fights. Not just that we're opposite on them, but I feel like the totals are volatile too.
And then the main event is Imavov and Borralho. The only way we could touch this, if we agree, is over 4.5 rounds at -195.
That's lower than I thought it would be, but I feel like we've got better price chalk, you know, because we get Jones -106, which I like. Tavares -235. I think we have to keep that. That's value. Hughes is a big line there. Obviously, if we feel good about her, but it's just a big line. I might parlay her up with Tavares straight up, maybe, even though it's still going to be chalk. But maybe that's what I'll end up doing for my parlay. On a side note, folks, by the way,
we're sitting at plus 780 for a 5-leg parlay. Hughes, Tavares, Gomis, Mason Jones, Tybura. That's it. Tybura. That's it.
Hughes, Tavares, Mason Jones, Tybura, and Gomis.
780.
Yeah, we want the plus 700 minimum. That's a 5-leg instead of a 3, but that's fuck it. Let's do it.
We got no dogs on there. It's all favorites.
Yeah, and we're not getting too cheeky.
Well, we got one dog. We got one dog. We got one dog on there.
And it's win by any means necessary because these are money line bets. We're not getting cheeky with inside the distance, KOs. So yeah, for that fact alone, yeah, if you are going to do it, let's do the money line. All right, Red is down for it. You'll probably get better odds than I do. But yeah, mark us down for that. The parlay. All right. So
since we are, let's do it. Let's do it. Let's do fucking BSD versus. Let's do that as the shot bet.
Yeah, let's do that as the shot bet. So I owed you one last week, but you did say double or nothing, right? So that means
we're even, I guess.
Yeah, I don't owe one anymore at the very least.
Yeah.
And so we don't turn either of us into alcoholic and to get more original. Here is what I was thinking. I kind of pitched it on Twitter, joking, and Dayton, I don't know if you saw that in the chat, that ridiculous AI picture of me, but like, for example, like I'm trying to give my throat a break, So whether it was smoking something or shooting something, I really can't really do much of that, either of that right now too much. I'm trying to be a good boy for the health stuff I'm going through. So here's my deal, at least for my end, Mike. If I lose, I will have to put this ridiculous Avi that Dayton's going to throw on screen. That's got to be my Avi on social media, on Twitter there, or any promotional thing I do, not just for the week, but until I win again. So it could be potentially 2 weeks, right? And I would say it'd be potentially 3, but here's how else we're going to be original here, Mike. And you could, God forbid, please take that off the screen before I pour gas into my nose. Here's how we're also going to be original, Mike, right? Is if, and I got this idea when you mentioned Real Genius. That's another reason why I was in my head a bit when it totally sent me on a loop. And this is where it sent me, Mike, okay? Because I always think about one of my favorite actors, Val Kilmer, and he's got the unforgettable sideburn shave in that movie, right? It's one of the things from the 80s that has not sadly come back, okay, for good reason. And it was always my fear as a kid. My mom was because my mom accidentally gave me the Real Genius haircut multiple times in the early 90s. You know, I was old enough to mistakenly, take some strays. I've got bow cuts. I've got Real Genius cuts, Mike. But I'll tell you this. Here's how we'll make it different. And you can create your own punishment, or I can help you create a punishment for if we get a losing turkey. So if you lose 3 bets in a row, you got to do something. Whatever we come up with, you got to do something worse, right? So mine is going to be, I will shave the Real Genius into my, you know me, I love my hair. I'm so pristine and OCD. I will grow it out and shave a Real Genius haircut. And I got to sport that for at least one show if I lose 3 in a row. Does that sound fair?
Yeah, that sounds fair. I got to come up with my guidelines.
And of course, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to buzz it right back to this right after and just, wait a couple days for this to fill in and I'll be okay. But yeah, I will have to sport it for at least a show. It will be on the internet, folks. I'm looking like a fucking idiot. And comment below if you have ideas for me or Mike or for these.
Yeah. Comment below.
We're looking to get more creative and step up these bets. In other words, basically, right, Mike?
Yeah, I'm going to stick to this week because he is a dog, dude. I mean, he is a plus 160. So I'm going to just stick with I'll do 2 shots if he loses this week.
Okay, sounds fair. Yeah.
Because I'm really not super confident in that, but I want to make it interesting. And the Imavov and Borralho fight isn't, I don't know. I mean, if you want to do it with that one, then but there's nothing I'm really super confident in this week.
No, I like us doing it that, especially since we're not going the American History X angle there. Gustafson and that fight. But yeah, and folks, that's a perfect opportunity. I know we're kind of pushing the payments of these bets back another week, but that's also another week for you guys to interject your ideas to potentially make our payoffs for it much worse for your entertainment. So sound off in the comments below. Let's recap the show before we sign out of here. I know it was a long one, folks. We did pretty good on our part, I will say, but it's a 14 fight slate. What are you going to do? A lot of dissension. So you guys know which way to go. I got Borralho. Mike's got Imavov. I've got Ruffy. I'm going Fighting Nerds on the top 2. And Mike's going France for the top 2. He's got BSD, Benoît Saint-Denis. And that's also the bet of the shot bet, or the dog or pass host to host head to head of the week. We'll call it the host to host head to head of the week. That's right. That's better. That's a better name for it, especially if we may migrate and mix in from the shots. We are both going with Bukauskas over Paul Craig, but we don't like the price, and we give Craig his respect that he's due. We both like Mason Jones, so much so that he's going in the official DOP parlay, one leg of 5, followed by we both like. No. Wait, did you pick McKee, right? Yeah, we're split here. We're not bullish on it. Neither of us are running to the window on either side. But Mike's got the dog in McKee. I've got the slight favorite in Sola, who's making his debut. We both are siding with the debut fighter in the next fight. We both have Losene Keita over Pitbull, but we both also have respect for Pitbull and kind of disdain for the line. Despite my feelings about William Gomis, I don't want to speak for Mike, but we are picking William Gomis and do favor him to the point that he is leg number 2 in the dog or pass parlay over Robert Ruchała. We like Oumar, but we do not like the price, and we will be staying away, even though we both are picking Oumar over Brendson Ribeiro. It's a cheap, it's a pussyfoot dog, like Mike called it out for what it is, but it is what it is, right? And he is the Benji Boy Dog of the Week. Marcin, and he also makes it as the 3rd leg of the dog or pass parlay. I will admit I'm going to wait to see if the market moves on him a bit, see if we get a better price on that for the parlay, but you do as you like. And we are very just reluctantly, just if we had to have a gun to our head for the sake of the show, we pick Fernandes the favorite, but in no way are we confident, and no way did we do our due diligence, as we admitted. So we are always going to be honest with you guys and up front over. So yeah, Kauê Fernandes versus Harry Hardwick, a very reluctant gun to the head, lean toward Fernandes for both of us, you could say. We both are more feeling better about Patterson over Waters. Patterson didn't make a leg, did he? Did he?
No,
not enough to leg, but I think we felt good enough to pick him there. We both picked him there. Tavares, we definitely felt good enough to be a part of the Dogger Pass parlay leg. We got him in there over Robert Breichek. Renat, you can fuck right off. We're taking actually Andreas Gustafsson, aka the shower rape guy from American History X. Nothing in here made it in our parlay, did it?
Nope.
I know I missed something, by the way. It might have been a total or something. And then, of course, we had Sam Hughes over Sean Abandon, and Sam Hughes made it in the Dogger Pass parlay. So hit him with the Dogger Pass parlay again before we get out of here, Mike.
Yeah, we took we took the overs out. So we got Sam Hughes, Brad Tavares, William Gomis, Mason Jones, Marcin Tybura paying out plus 780.
Okay, that is it. The 5-legger. I will be putting that on the slate, which I will have the appropriate theme for. I just finished Andor season 2, which I loved. It reignited because I'm not a big Star Wars guy, and it reignited my Star Wars love there. And I'm definitely going to do an Andor season 2 theme slate, but I'm going to save that for a bigger one. I think, we'll see what I come up with for this one, folks. But Mike, more importantly, the plays they want to know where they can find, the plays where they should be asking where they find, hit them where they can find you and those plays before we get out of here, sir.
Yeah, go to the madlabmma.com. Like I said, football season's upon us. We're not only an MMA site. We have 7 guys on staff, all handpicked, doing football, giving their content. We call ourselves the currency cartel for the football end of it. Amazing stuff. You got D-Rock doing all his contrarian corners every week. That's on the site. You have J-Mac doing all his live streams in the Discord Sunday morning, go over injuries, doing everything. You got the roster bully tool that we invented, tiers, anything you possibly need. You got every one of our wagering blueprints separately. You follow the hot hand. This is all free, guys. Like, we're not one of these companies that, we charge you for betting guides and we upcharge you here. If you're a member of the family, you're a member of the family. So you join and you get all this for free. So come check us out, themadlabmma.com, and hopefully we roll this hot streak into football season.
Well said. Well said. You can follow me, of course, at Dan Tom MMA. Usually I have the main event breakdowns and stuff over at Junkie, and even like the Contender Series coverage. If you notice, I didn't have that this week. I took the week off from Junkie duties this week to save me some of the writing and whatnot. So apologies there. And that probably means I might not do my Substack either. Again, I'm really just got a lot going on. I'm not going to bore you guys with, but I do have to get done. So we'll see as far as that goes. So let me hit you what I'm leaning toward the round robin that I will still post, faux or not, tracked or not. I still will post it in the comments, as I've been doing for those following along. Please post and comment like yours below. And of course, again, on fight day, I always post my picks and plays on said slate that I was kind of nerding out on just a moment ago. But just real quick, I'll give you the 3 legs I'm looking at. 2 of them are around 3 legs, one for Ruffy, like I talked about, the other for Sam Page, like I talked about. Also looking at that split decision prop in the Oki and Mason Jones fight. And I'm going to look for more dependable legs that don't need to be quite as high as those plus money legs, whether it's a 4 or whether it's a 5-legger. I will hit you with it in the comments below or on fight day at Dan Tom MMA on the artist formerly known as Twitter, but at Dan Tom MMA for my Substack, Instagram, and all that jazz. At Mad Lab MMA is where you can find Mike, the Mad Lab MMA, if you really need the specific details that you need. Dayton's Dog of the Week is live. We're going to see if Dayton can get back to 500. Thank you for the backup there, Dayton. Thank you guys for showing up live. Brian D89 says 14 fights out of now. Wait until weigh-ins down to 11. We'll see, folks. We'll see how it ages when this hits your ears. Thank you, everybody who was in the chat. And I know we didn't get you guys too much of a notice, but this is your notice now. Show up next week, Wednesday, 1:15 to 1:30-ish p.m. Pacific time, baby. That's where we'll be. Good luck on your picks and plays, and always protect your neck.